terminal.
RCP chamber pressure looks good. Toggling up. Roger, roll, Atlantic.
Water towers can fly!
Tango Delta nominal.
Body down, feed off. Bring in, feed off. Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.
All right, folks. Now, I'm not an expert, but it looks to me like a cryo test is occurring down at Starbase in Boca Chica. John Galloway for NASASpaceflight here, bringing you some live commentary. This is a live view from deep inside the cryo cloud, I guess, down at Starbase. We've got Booster 4 up on the orbital launch mount. We've got Ship 20 on top of it, and there we go. As it clears
perfect
up, you can
timing there.
I know, right? I timed it that way on purpose. Let me know if you can hear us 5x5s in chat or not. Videos 1x5, yes. No, that was intentional. Look how awesome it is, folks. Just let us know that you can hear us just fine. You've already heard the voice of my compadre in the studio here. Mr. Thomas Berghart is here as well. Thomas, how you doing?
I'm doing well. This is the first ever full stack cryo test, so very exciting milestone. Looking forward to watching some testing tonight.
Outstanding. Thomas, of course, is the news director for NASA Spaceflight, making sure all of the wonderful news articles and all the other coverage we bring to you make it out into the world and, I guess, get directed. I don't know if you have, like, airplane paddles, like you wave them onto the internet or whatever you do, Thomas, but whatever.
Yeah, you got to direct them to all the different servers and everything. It's a very complicated job.
It's very complicated. Also in the studio this evening, we have Mr. Jack Beyer. Jack, we got you on comms.
You have me on comms. I am here and ready, like Thomas said, for the first full stack cryo test.
You ready for some whip crack horse winnie here? Gold School Texas tank watching?
Oh, yeah. Forgot about the whip crack horse winnie. I love it. I love it. Yes, I am ready for that.
How could you forget whip crack horse winnie? Yeehaw.
I don't know. That's such a huge part of my psyche at this point. I'm not sure how I could have forgotten that, but thank you for helping me rediscover it on tonight's episode of Texas Tank Watching. Horse winnie, whip crack, whip crack.
Whip crack, yeehaw. Anyways, folks, like we said, this is the full stack. We've got a cryo test underway. We've been waiting. We've been watching this on Starbase Live for hours at this point, and we were waiting until we actually got some vapors forming. Not vapors forming. There have been vapors forming forever. Ice forming on the booster itself. And let me see if I can't bring you all around to the beach view. That's the one that shows it right there.
Yeah,
that's why we went live.
That's the best view of it right now.
Yep.
There's also some vapors near the base of the vehicle, and there's the venting vapors because the launch mount has a vent when those lines start getting used. There's a vent there. There's venting all over the ground tanks and things like that. That's all been there for a while, and that just means the ground equipment is getting spooled up. But once they actually start loading those cryogenic fluids into the vehicle, there are vapors under the base of the rocket, and you can kind of see there in the bottom of the launch mount those vapors. So that was a key indicator, and then again, we are starting to see that growing frost or condensation on the top of that top tank on the booster, which someone remind me, what order are the propellants in? I know, obviously...
Methane's up top.
Methane's up top, so that would be the methane tank if they were loading propellants. This is a cryogenic proof test, which means they're just taking liquid nitrogen and pumping them in, which is a similar temperature to the propellants, but it's not an actual propellant, so if there's a leak, no explosion risk and things like that. But the methane tank, you can see a bit of frost forming there.
Yep. Absolutely. So,
I think
folks,
you're
this is... Go ahead, Thomas.
I think you're actually seeing a little bit of vapors near the bottom of the LOX tank on the booster as well. It's easier, or it's harder to see because there's the aero covers there for COPVs and things, so you see the methane tank first, but looks like both tanks might be starting to get filled up.
Every now and then we get a little clearance in the vapors there. This camera, of course, is close in, not crewed. Mary is not standing here in this cloud of vapors or anything like this. This is an uncrewed camera that has been deployed well before the road closure occurred. But, folks, this is one of our live streams. If you've got questions for us, tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight, and we'll be doing some commentary, explaining what's going on, answering your questions. Super chat's already coming in as well. Musical Wolf says, is SpaceX pressing the Impress Media button? Do they have Impress Media? I think it was just a Confuse Media button.
They definitely have Confuse Media, but maybe they've added a couple media buttons. We'll have to see.
Excellent. So start getting your questions in the queue there, and Jack and Thomas will answer some of them. I am going to go poke a camera.
Yep, I am sitting here looking at the question queue, and oh my God, Robert Hobson,
Whoa!
I was just talking to Bob Hobb in Discord. Holy cow, Robert! Thank you so much. What am I even supposed to say to that? I think you've broken me right off of the bat. But they very generous $200 super chat and says towards a wind machine for the cam to blow the
There you
vapors
go.
Away. It's like one of those big like amusement park fans that can just keep all of that vapor away from the camera. Holy cow, Robert! We've always got a lot of stuff in the works, and your support is enabling everything that you're seeing here, plus a whole bunch of other stuff in the back end, and just know that we appreciate it so much. Oh my gosh, like so generous. What do you even say to that?
Well, I can tell
Yeah,
you
it's
that it's
great.
enough to buy some color for this
Yeah.
camera. This is the camera that I was poking way too early. It switches to black and white, and if I poke it, it should come back color eventually.
Hey.
Thanks, Bob Hobb. Keeping the well. Apparently
Well,
now, we need
now
to
we need to
get into
poke some
focus.
focus into it.
Fine, this is how you're gonna do me, camera. I'm switching to another camera.
Someone get that camera some Adderall.
I'll handle it. I'm on it.
All right. Thank you so much for the support there. Appreciate it, though.
Yeah, seriously, Bob Hobb, thank you. You've earned your nickname today, that's for sure. Thank you so much. But yeah, like Das said, if you have any questions, throw them in chat at NASASpaceflight. We will see your questions pop up and maybe answer them.
Or at least
Let's-
try, you know. Sometimes we do
yeah.
our best. It depends.
Or we'll waffle. We'll just waffle all the way around your question. Either way, you can ask the questions. What happens after that is a variable thing here. But we've definitely got frost on the base of the booster at this point. It's definitely looking like both tanks are accepting cryo fluid at this time. Let's see. Speaking of questions from y'all, Julian is asking a question here. Do you think the FAA will delay the environmental assessment past the March 28th deadline? What do you think, Thomas?
I think I have exactly zero insight into the answer to that question.
But what do you think?
So, if we're going to go at it from the perspective of, well, they have a deadline for the end of this month currently, and since they haven't done it yet, the odds of it happening in the next 2 weeks before the deadline is pretty low, which means that the odds of the deadline being extended is high. Sure, I think that's feasible, but my prediction, so my prediction is the assessment will not come out this month. I'll just do that. That's just me playing the odds, though. I have literally no insight into this.
Yeah, no, I would provide a similar answer in that they've extended the deadline, twice now? If they extend it again, I will not be shocked.
Right.
And-
It's more
and-
of a I won't be surprised either way. That's going to be one thing that's just going to show up one day when none of us are expecting it.
I mean, I would kind of be surprised if they released it, like, tomorrow or something, because I don't think any of us have heard any rumblings or anything related to, hey, environmental assessment, finishing
Yeah.
up. Like, there's really been nothing in the rumor mill, nothing on Twitter, nobody claiming to have a friend who has a friend who has a friend who, you know what I mean? Like, normally when something big is going to happen, you kind of start to hear a little bit of rumbling back and forth throughout the mediaverse, so to speak. So, absent of any rumbling of that nature, I don't think it's imminent, but that's just me reading tea leaves over here. Good question, though, Julian. I mean, very pertinent. We're going to need that environmental assessment to be completed before we see this vehicle launch from Boca Chica. I mean, holy cow. I know we all want to see it. We're all waiting for it.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
A couple more super chats came in. Let's see. We did the one from Musical Wolves. Thank you, Musical Wolves. James Juries, thanks for the support. They say SN11 suddenly shows up and launches again. I'm guessing that's a fog reference. Hopefully not an explosion thing. That would be bad. I'm still mad. I'm still mad about SN11. It's been It's been around a year now. I'm still salty about SN11. We'll do like a 1-year anniversary for SN10, SN9, SN8. Like, yeah, it's been a year. You're not going to see that for me for SN11. Forget SN11. Stupid thing. What a cool explosion that would have been. All right, I'll stop.
Can you imagine what that would have looked like? Like if you could
Yes.
see that event, anomaly, whatever you want to call it, like that would be amazing.
Yes, I can't imagine it, and I am sad that we did not get to see it. Anyways, before I get too sad, moving on. Jason McGee, thanks for the support. They say, as far as I can tell, Falcon 9 doesn't have header tanks. If this is true, why do you think Super Heavy has them? Get technical if need be. I don't think Falcon 9 has what we would call a header tank like what we see on Starship, for example, but I do think Falcon 9 has sort of a like landing fuel tank,
Yep.
for lack of a better term. I don't know what the differentiation would be between a header and just a smaller tank that you put fuel in, but friend of the stream, Alex, has harped, I know, for a long time about Falcon 9 having a fuel...
An equivalent of a header tank, yeah, even if
exactly,
it's not
yeah.
called that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The boost. Here's the thing. The main reason that header tanks exist is so that you can have a more concentrated tank of fuel that, not more concentrated, a smaller fuel tank that is dedicated to landing propellant, which basically removes the risks of fuel slosh or fuel not collecting where you need it to have a healthy engine start. The more obvious example is if you go to higher, upper stages in orbit. In order to start an engine on an upper stage, you need to have what's called ullage, which is basically a small amount of acceleration to force the fuel, which is floating in zero gravity, into the part of the engine that actually or part of the tank that feeds the engine. A lot of the times this is accomplished by very small thrusters or just firing the RCS thrusters in a certain direction to just get some fuel into the engine. And then once the engine is started, obviously the thrust from the engine will push the rest of the fuel into the collector, and you've got a very healthy fuel flow for your engine. Now, for stages that are coming back and landing, so a Falcon 9 or the Super Heavy booster, this is more or less accomplished by gravity, because as the booster comes down and is falling under free fall, usually atmospheric drag causes enough deceleration that fuel will be collecting near the bottom of whatever tank you're in. But if you only have a little bit of amount of fuel left, it's only the small amount that you've reserved for landing, and the tanks are still really big. Sometimes that's not the optimal situation for getting a clean fuel flow. So between that and just mitigating any sort of residual floatiness of your fuel kind of just sloshing around your tank as you're free falling, using something like a header tank or something like that is still useful even for propulsive landing like that. So Falcon 9 has a tank similar to that. We've seen the header tanks in Super Heavy have, or we've seen a couple different designs of them actually. The Super Heavy booster will have something to that end, so that is still used, and that's why Starship has them. Starship does propulsive landing with a header tank, and part of that reason is because you need to make sure you have a steady fuel flow when you start those engines for landing. So definitely there and present on the boosters that Falcon at SpaceX flies as well.
Thank you for providing the technical side of
Always
the answer
happy
to
to
that
get
question
technical.
that Jason had asked for. We appreciate that. And speaking of the booster header tank, we just saw a couple days ago, Mary caught that aft section of a booster being flipped. And God, that's got to be like one of my favorite things I've seen come out of the daily videos or happen in Boca Chica in a long time. For the fact that it tells us so much. And one of the things it told us was the arrangement of that tank and sort of just how good that engine section looks and how much that they've iterated on that design and how just utterly fantastic and clean it looks. It's like the old designs were like Mark 1 and the new design is like Ship 22. You can just tell. You can tell it's further along in the pipeline. So go check out that daily video if you haven't. It should be like one of the last couple ones in our feed. That aft section flip is just absolutely amazing. Amazing views. So can give you a little bit of insight into what that is looking like. Or maybe Jason already watched that video and that's why they're asking that question. But either way, thanks for the support.
Really quick, want to point out something we're seeing. So we pointed out both the methane and liquid oxygen tanks on the booster have started to get frosty near the bottom. So they're starting to pump liquid nitrogen into those tanks for the proof test. But we are starting to see some venting from Ship 20 stacked on top as well, which would indicate that through that QD arm, liquid nitrogen is also flowing into the ship. So this is truly a full stack test. Both stages are going to be proof tested here together on the orbital launch site.
Yeah, and we should definitely talk about that proof testing and why they do it and all those things, because in case people watching are not seasoned tank watchers and are like, what's a proof test? Why are they? It's there. I can see it. What proof do you need? Ha ha ha.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry.
Really?
Oh God. But we should talk about that. But right before we do, we have another huge super chat from WB Hokey. Thank you so much, Hokey, for the support. They chimed in with $100 in support, which is absolutely insane. And they said, seconded, Wind Machine. Can't have DOS fanning his robots with his hands now, can we?
Well, especially if there's not just a bunch of cryogenic nitrogen in the air. That sounds dangerous. So
Yeah,
very, very much appreciate the support.
I'm like, ooh, asphyxiation hazard. That's not good. Not good for
Hokie
humans.
is a longtime viewer over from my Twitch channel. So Hokie,
Oh.
it's good to see you. Good to hear from you. Thank you so
That's
much
awesome.
for stopping through.
Yeah, if y'all don't know, Das has a Twitch channel. Das has a Twitch channel. That's how he got started on all this way back when, right?
It is. I'm trying to cut to this camera every time I get a little like a hole in the clouds, but
Yeah.
I'm only getting holes in the clouds every now and then. So bear with me.
Thankfully,
Das-
we can see that venting still from the ship from this angle. So good.
Yeah,
call.
from this view, it's a good view. Yeah, believe it or not, Das, whose username is Kerbal Space Academy, once upon a time he actually played Kerbal Space Program. It's crazy.
Long ago. Not very far away, but long ago.
Yeah. But yeah, so to Jack's point, what is a cryogenic proof test? What are we watching here today? We mentioned it's liquid nitrogen. They're not loading propellants into the vehicle. Obviously, Starship and the Super Heavy booster, both powered by Raptor engines, which are fueled by liquid methane and liquid oxygen as the oxidizer. This contrasts with actually most rockets out there. For example, the SpaceX Falcon rockets are powered by kerosene and oxygen. But methane is becoming a bit of a more common fuel in a lot of companies' next generation vehicles for a couple of reasons. First of all, rockets are getting cheaper, either through manufacturing methods or becoming reusable rockets. And as the launch costs come down, the cost of your buying the propellant, like literally, we need to buy X tons of fuel and oxidizer to fill the rocket. That amount of money becomes a bigger percentage of your launch cost, and methane is super cheap. It's basically natural gas. I mean, there's different grades of it and all that, so it's not really correct to call the rocket fuel liquid natural gas, but either way, it's a very cheap commodity compared to the really refined kerosene or liquid hydrogen, which is another common rocket fuel.
Look at this.
By the way, look at that huge tower vent. We saw
Yep.
this a little bit earlier, and it's doing it again, so I wanted to point that out. A big vent from the launch tower there.
That is super cool looking.
Yeah, that really is cool.
And so, when preparing for static fire tests or launch tests, that's the commodity you see get fueled or filled into the ship and the booster, liquid methane and liquid oxygen. For this particular test, that is not what's happening because those two commodities, if they combust, results in a huge explosion, right? Pure oxygen, liquid methane as a fuel, both of those are very combustible and pose a safety risk. So before you load those propellants into your vehicle, you do what's called a cryogenic proof test using liquid nitrogen, because nitrogen is inert. You can't light it on fire, it won't explode. If there's a leak, there's just nitrogen, and there's nitrogen in the air. It's not dangerous in any way. You don't want to be near it because it's super cold and you could suffocate if you were breathing in pure nitrogen. So the pad is still clear and all that things, but it's not an explosion risk. The risks
Sorry,
are...
somebody in
Go
chat
ahead,
is
Jack.
saying, JC Davis says T-minus 20-minute vent.
Yeah, right.
Very similar to the 20-minute event we see. It will be interesting, and of course, our good friend Adrian will plug it into the spreadsheet once we get some countdowns under our belt for the full stack. But if there's an equivalent, like a big countdown marker during Starship fueling for actual launch attempts, that would be cool. But so yeah, a cryogenic proof test. The only risk is if a leak develops, which is the point of the test, to find any leaks. Both the booster and the ship independently have already completed proof testing with liquid nitrogen, but this is the first time that they have stacked them both on the orbital launch mount and done the test. So the booster is doing a test that's more or less done before. I guess it's doing it under the weight of the ship, although do we have a close-up enough view of the chopsticks to know if the chopsticks are actually carrying some of the weight of the ship right now or not?
That's a good question.
We can look. Yeah. Hey, let's have a look. You know the guy with the joystick.
I do. That was my telegraphed hint there. That
Yeah.
wonder if we could get a view on that, because that might make a difference.
I mean, it is curious because over the last couple days, again on the daily videos, we've seen them remove parts from the QD arm.
Yeah.
That like the little claw parts. So that little bit of stabilization that arm provided, it is no longer doing. But maybe that just means, hey, we can't release the chopsticks. As long as we keep the chopsticks in position,
Maybe.
it's sort of a non-issue whether or not those parts are there. Which,
Yeah, it does look like the lower stabilizers still seem to be attached there
Okay.
from this angle, and it almost looks like there's a spotlight or something on them. You see the really bright spot.
Yeah.
yeah,
And of course, if those are still on, I would say the chopsticks would still be on the primary load pins as well. Let me see if I can't damp that down real quick and see through that spotlight. Let's see.
Because the reason we're looking at this, so proof testing can be, in addition to just pumping the liquid nitrogen through and seeing if naturally the tank has any leaks or anything, if you apply loads on that same tank, we've seen in the past them put hydraulic rams on the bottom of a vehicle to simulate engine thrust, basically pushing up on the tank with the same force that the engines would be providing if they were firing. That gives you more realistic test conditions to make sure the tank doesn't develop leaks under those loads. They could be doing something similar by putting the ship on top of the booster, and then the booster is under a slightly different load kind of situation when they do the proof test. However, if the chopsticks are holding up the ship, then the booster actually isn't holding that weight. And maybe that's just part of sort of an iterative test. Maybe they'll test it with the chopstick attached and then say, okay, that went well. Let's remove the chopsticks, make sure that added weight doesn't change anything. They'll do another one. So, yeah, and of course, that's all hypothetical, just talking aloud about what kind of test they might iterate from to complete a complete cryogenic proof campaign with the full stack.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we see them load a little bit into both vehicles, and then at some point the sticks get removed. Once it's like it's heavier or something. I don't really expect that, but who knows what's in the cards for tonight and for future oh my god, my brain, and future cryo tests. I'm doing questions. I'm adding questions to the queue as I go, and one of them is about a static fire, and of course that invaded my consciousness. Which, I guess we'll ask it now. Musical Wolves is asking, is the environmental assessment needed before any static fire?
I believe... All right. I'm going to say this at the risk of being entirely wrong. I was under the impression that environmental assessment is a precursor to launch license and things like that, but does not preclude ground testing, including static fires. They have done a booster static fire before. They have done ship static fires before. The environmental assessment is not done. The only caveat is if for some reason a full stack static fire still on the ground requires the assessment for some reason.
That does.
The answer would be...
That's the one part of the question that I actually know for sure, is right now they are limited to the amount of propellant equivalent to what would be in a Falcon Heavy. So... because that is what the original preliminary environmental assessment, the PEA, was done for, was Falcon Heavy. So they're kind of bound by those Falcon Heavy limits at this point, at least in terms of what they can load into a vehicle. Now, could they load a smaller amount than that into the booster and do a static fire with ship on top? That is my understanding. I could be understanding it correctly. It's been a while since I've read that environmental assessment, so I could be misremembering things, but I think they could do a static fire, but not a full up like wet dress rehearsal or a full up static fire. But I could be wrong. I could be very wrong there.
If it is a fuel limit, then they could simply underfuel the vehicle and do a brief static fire. That's unless See, I'm thinking of all these hypothetical situations. If the weight of all of that propellant is needed for the hold down clamps to sufficiently hold down the vehicle during a static fire, then they can't do the static fire because the vehicle would be way lighter. I have no idea if that's the case, but
they might be able to do like a single engine or a cluster of engines, but not all of them because it would be too much thrust.
Yeah, it also might be possible that they designed the hold down clamps with the worst case scenario of static firing a booster with no propellant weight, and doing the math to say, yeah, we can do an underloaded static fire using these hold down clamps, no big deal. I would, if they were thinking ahead, that seems like a smart thing to do, but I have no idea if that's part of their testing plan.
So to summarize, it depends.
So to summarize, it absolutely depends. Absolutely.
Let me just tie a bow on this for everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Das, for being the summarizer in chief. Let's see here. We've got a bunch more questions. We've also got like a bunch of super chats. I don't want to get too far behind in these. Dog Cruz, thank you so much for the support. Very generous of you. They say full stacks. Musical Wolves, thank you for the support. They say, does this mean SpaceX can do a booster static fire with Starship stacked? If so, how many engines? That's sort of... Musical Wolves just asked the engine question we were just answering. So I think we sufficiently answered that. Maybe a subset of engines. We'll have to wait and see, I suppose. But thank you for the continued and consistent and constant support, Musical Wolves. Super Steve? Nice name. Super Steve. They're asking, how are they supporting the full stack with the QD disassembled? We kind of just answered that too. We think the chopsticks At least they look still attached, so it's probably supporting, stabilizing a little bit there. But that is interesting that we thought that those little claw arms on the QD were super necessary, and lo and behold, here we are without them attached with a full stack. Katya, thank you for the support. Rockwell Tory, thank you for the support. They say, what costs the most, a tanker load of liquid oxygen, nitrogen, or methane? I think it's oxygen, right?
Oxygen, methane, what was the third thing?
Nitrogen.
And what's the most expensive was the question?
Yeah, I don't actually know. We should do some
I
rapid
would
Googling
guess
while,
oxygen, but that's 100% a guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily 100%, right? Because we did hear back in the throes of the pandemic, which we're still in, I want to make clear, that there was like an oxygen shortage, right? And there was like additional costs associated to getting that oxygen. So I think it's not oxygen, but I am not a
Googling furiously
retailer
right now.
of gases, so maybe don't take my word for it.
And I think part of it wasn't there was a shortage of that resource, but the trucks that actually move it around.
Oh, really?
If I remember correctly. Yeah, it was difficulties actually getting the stuff transported. Not that they didn't have enough of it, but they just couldn't get it to the pads and places.
Uh-huh.
If I remember correctly. I mean, same things. Your mileage may vary. Getting old. Memory may be going, so.
Man, that's so cool to see the vapor coming through the grid fin like that from
Yeah.
the ship. That is just the neatest thing. I'll almost think that's cool enough to forgive the fact that the grid fins don't retract, which I still hate. Let's see. Janine and Carl Barter, thank you for the support. They say, love your stream, so much information. Well, you're welcome, Janine and Carl.
Yeah.
Vince, thank you for the support. Ron Smith, thank you for the support. They say, where would you all like to be right now in Boca Chica for the full stack? At KSC for SLS, or where would you like to be? At Boca for the full stack or at KSC for SLS rollout? I'm going to be the unpopular guy in the room, especially with this crowd, and say I would like to be at the SLS rollout. Why? Because while this is a first here in Boca and Starship history, the first full stack cryo, SLS is just kind of super unique and interesting, and seeing it roll out of the VAB for the first time and seeing, oh man, it's going to be cool. And rest assured, we will be covering that event. But yeah, if you want to follow along with that, stay tuned to our channel. Maybe hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. I think there's really
just
no
a
wrong answer to
quick
this question,
plug
right?
a quick plug is that definitely stay tuned for live coverage of SLS rollout here on NASA Spaceflight tomorrow. There will be end-to-end coverage here on the channel. We will be live from the Kennedy Space Center for that. Definitely looking forward to making the drive down to Kennedy tomorrow morning. But
that's what I was going to say, Thomas. Like,
yeah.
I'm going to be at both because I'll be right here on the NASA Spaceflight.
Right, there you go.
You don't have to choose.
I shipped cameras to both places. Y'all better put them out so I can see what's going on.
Oh, I'm so excited.
It's also just worth noting that Starship and SLS, pretty much the two primary vehicles of the Artemis program. If you think about it, you have the moon lander vehicle, and I guess you could also loop in the propellant tanker and refuelers for the said lander is the Starship system, and then your crew launch vehicle is SLS. So both of the super heavy lift Artemis vehicles doing some exciting things these days.
Indeed. It's really cool to see the whole Artemis program sort of ramping up with the development and testing of both of these vehicles. Yeah, good question, Ron Smith. You know, it's a good question when we ramble on about it for a little while. Seth, thank you for the support. They say, thanks for doing what you do. I'll be in my RV at the end space of Isla Blanca on April 3rd to April 16th. Hopefully we'll see some activity. If you want to put a cam on top of my RV, that'd be cool with us. We are. It looks like it might have gotten cut off a little bit, but thank you so much, Seth. I have a feeling that camera might be a little bit shaky, knowing the challenges of putting a camera on a vehicle, but thank you for the offer, and super good positioning there for your campsite / RV site.
Yeah. Vehicles are tough because the vehicle's suspension.
Exactly.
Like with the long lenses we use, anything that has a like road suspension, like a truck or an RV or a trailer, it actually tends to be really unstable for a long lens camera like this. So you almost have to have outriggers that actually completely get the wheel suspension off the ground, so you have like positive contact with the ground, nothing that's going to move around. And a lot of the stabilizers on an RV are usually a little bit more shaky. Like you can still move around, it's just so you don't get seasick while you're walking around inside. So
Depending on
definitely
how...
hope Go ahead.
Depending on how fancy the RV is, it might have outriggers. I've seen RVs with those.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a normal thing. But even those, like the whole structure of the RV, the lightness, so you can pull it down the road versus the stability of it. It's not really built for stability. Let's put it that way. I want a concrete, like a pole, a steel pole filled with concrete. We'll put the camera on that.
Nice. But thanks again for the support there. Tyler J, thanks for the support. Who's stoked about the Senate launch system to roll out? I mean, we just answered that. We all are, despite the funny name that is applicable to it, for good reason.
Drone coming in, it looks like.
Oh,
Yep.
that's cool.
Yeah.
We've still got a whole bunch more super chats, but let's go to some user questions here. We've caught up a little bit. I've managed to move the pile of sand a little bit, but there's still a large pile of sand.
Well, we appreciate it, y'all. That's why we're able to do this. That's why we're able to show up and bring you the different live views and explain what's going on. It's because y'all keep showing up with the support. So we can't say it enough. Thanks to everybody who's been generous to help us keep this going.
Sure enough. I hope everybody has noticed the increasing amount of coverage and cameras and stuff that we've been able to do over the last year or two, and it's full pedal to the metal, no stopping, and we're able to do that because of everybody's support. The super chats, the members, thank you to all of our members. I think it should be said. Thank you to members. We've got the membership program. Don't forget about the membership program. Hey, did you know we have a membership program? Anyways.
Real quick, I got to show y'all this sort of sunset going down here. Look at the
Nice.
wide bay.
It's huge.
Remember
It
when
is
the
getting
highway...
very big.
Yeah, the high bay was like, oh, it's so huge. Look how big the high bay is. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And it looks like the mid bay now. They just keep
does.
adding things to the wide bay there. So,
Yeah,
anyways,
I think there was a point in time where we called the mid bay like the VAB or like the vehicle assembly building, or might even called it the high bay for a little bit, and then here we are. So
it's like the outhouse now. Jeez, after they finish this thing. I mean,
the
they're
windbreak-
serious about making starships.
the windbreak off to the right is like, oh, thank God I'm not the outhouse. But it's so big, it almost looks like it's closer to the camera. Does that make sense? Like there's
It
almost like an
does.
optical illusion happening here, where it's really right next to the high bay in terms of distance from the camera, but
Yep.
it just looks like it's closer. It's so crazy.
Yeah, it is. They're in a line there. They're sort of right next to each other, but you're absolutely right, Jack, that the larger building does look like it's closer to the camera than the little buildings further. The little building. Anyways.
Little is a relative term.
Yeah, that has an entire booster stacked in it right now. You can actually see the booster there. Anyways, back to the venting. Sorry, I just had to show that real quick.
So yeah, don't forget, ask your questions at NASASpaceflight. Ask away. Fire Static, it says you're going to cover the SLS rollout. We just answered that. Yes, we are. Stay tuned.
Yes.
Tomorrow we will be covering the SLS rollout. Let's see. Benjamin Toro is asking estimated time to doing a wet dress rehearsal. So a wet dress rehearsal is different than a cryoproof, right? Because cryoproof is just using inert liquid nitrogen, whereas a wet dress is using the actual propellants.
Absolutely, and that would if a full wet dress rehearsal, like we touched on earlier, might require the environmental assessment because there might be a part of there that limits how much propellant they can load, and thus they can't fully fuel a full stack for until that environmental assessment comes in. So that's it could be weeks or months away still.
Yep. We hope it's not, but
We
trying
hope it's
to be,
not, but
you know,
it's most likely pending that assessment.
expect the worst, hope for the best kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Everyday Space Nerd is asking, could they have taken the support arms off the QD arm in order to do a cryo test? I'm not quite sure how that would have been necessary to do the cryo test. I still think it's super odd that they pulled those arms off.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was like an integral part of the system, and then they ran the crane up there and just ripped them off. I'm so sad. It's like the lobster claw's missing.
Yeah, I love that name. So what do you think? Do you think that they're just modifying the claw and they're going to reattach them at some point, slightly modified? Or do you think it's a piece that has been deleted as not necessary? I purely speculation here, but like, what do you think? I suspect them to go up modified.
I don't know, Thomas?
Yeah, I think I'll fall on that side of the fence there, Jack. They'll reappear in a reimagined form, if you will.
Here's what I was actually looking for, the frost line down here.
There you go.
The very
Love it.
slow tilt down the stack there.
What a view. And you can see the stringers that are adding extra, strength to the barrel there. that's right at the common dome. So this is the delineation between the liquid oxygen tank on the bottom and the methane tank up top. So what we're looking at is a whole lot of liquid nitrogen sitting in the methane tank, and just below that, the oxygen tank, or liquid oxygen tank, I should say. It feels weird to call it just an oxygen tank. Not quite frosty at this height on the tank, but you can see those vents, those little I don't know, what you call those, triangles, trapezoids, whatever. Those two little vents right below the stringers. Those are the liquid oxygen tank vents. So maybe we'll see some action from those at some point tonight. Another thing to keep your eyes out for. I know we like to have a lot of fun and goof around, at least I sure do, but Bunker the Husky's asking kind of a serious question. With the growing number of space flights with humans on board in the future, does NSF have a contingency in place in case something happens that we all hope to never ever happen? I mean, I think the contingency is just we take human spaceflight very seriously, and we all hope, at least I certainly hope as someone who operates a camera at times, to never be witness to or capture with a camera or otherwise an event of that nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, from another camera operator's perspective here, I'll just say that it's a thought that I think has entered my mind for sure when covering human spaceflight missions, even recent ones, because it's something that, and I think we have talked about this on previous streams too, when they call out something like, abort system has been armed or something like that, that is a subtle reminder during all of those countdowns that, yep, this is a more serious mission than some of the others. And so, but I don't know if I'd say that there's any sort of contingency plan. I think the plan is we're there to document and report on things as it happens, whether that's a good story or a bad one. We all hope to never have to share a story like that. As a spaceflight news site, we all are also rooting for the kind of missions to be successful, the missions that we cover to be successful, including human spaceflight launches. So of course we hope to never have to share a story about that, but we, our coverage will include all stories, good and bad, from the spaceflight industry. We've covered launch failures of uncrewed missions plenty of times. We covered the Soyuz MS-10 abort in great detail. Of course, no one was hurt in that ordeal, but nevertheless a very serious incident. And I think that we would handle any other failures of that kind of type very similarly.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah, and again, I know, especially me, I can be a goofy guy, but there's a time for seriousness, and that is absolutely when there are human beings strapped on top of several, 100 tons of propellant. So we take that stuff very, very seriously. Good question there from
Yeah.
Bunker.
Absolutely. I was going to say, I don't know why we launched the James Webb Space Telescope. Why didn't we just launch this little camera into space? I don't understand how it sees so many stars in the background. Like, it's got a light shining right in its face, and every time we pan this thing up and go wide, it just shows the wheeling of the heavens in the background there behind Starship. So
It's pretty cool.
that's just, it's like an art shot right now. And how much did James Webb cost?
Right?
More than this camera.
More
I'm
than this
pretty
camera,
sure.
that's true.
It is a really cool shot. I mean, it's really nice to see stars behind Starship, and I will admit that. Let's see. Here's one from Everyday Space Nerd. I think another one. Good questions coming from them today. They're saying, once Mechazilla is active at 39A, could they catch Falcon 9s with Mechazilla? Thomas, what do you think?
I believe the answer there is no, and that just revolves around, if you look at the booster and the ship, they've got those points that are designed for the chopsticks to kind of hold the weight of those structures from. It's not like, originally the plan was like, oh, we'll land them on the grid fins, and the grid fins will support the weight of the vehicle. That is not how they've actually ended up implementing the system. They have actual lift points that the chopsticks can hold on to, which would be used for both landing and stacking operations. Falcon 9 doesn't have any sort of structure like that, so Falcon 9 is going to continue landing the tried and true way that it is meant to, which is landing on a pad with landing legs. and they will gradually transition all of their launch operations to the updated Starship system, but Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy boosters are going to keep leading the way that they currently do.
Yeah, and as an engineer, I'm sure you can speak to this far better than I can, but I imagine part of it is, someone might ask a follow-up to this question is, well, why not just add those structures to Falcon 9? And it's because, well, it's not just putting 2 nubs on the top near the grid fins.
Right.
There's a lot of design that has to go into making sure those nubs have support and the rest of the structure. It takes the load properly and all of that. Basically, you have to design that in from the get-go. And it was not designed in from the get-go with Falcon 9. So it's not the sort of thing where they could just bolt on attach points and catch Falcon 9s with the tower.
It is also a matter of you now are probably doing that with the goal of removing the landing legs. So now you have to remove the landing legs, and that might change some of your structure loads or your other parts of your engineering process that the legs were affecting. You have to now, and all of this has to be done with a calculation of, is it even worth it? How much performance do you gain from removing the weight of the landing legs and adding the weight of the structure for a lift point chopstick style, And it's just, the other point of it being, the main reason that SpaceX has gone this route with Super Heavy and Starship is that this system needs to be turned around very, very quickly. The fact is, SpaceX is operating a fleet of Falcon boosters that is supporting the launch cadence that fleet needs to support already. There's not a demand for 1-hour turnarounds of a Falcon booster. You need to be doing refurb work and things, whereas the Super Heavy booster has taken a lot of lessons learned and is designed to be turned around much, much faster. So the fact is, it doesn't make any sense to go that route with Falcon.
Yeah, I mean, and to pile on even more, Falcon 9 is certified for national security missions and certified for human spaceflight. And anytime you change anything with the current system, I imagine that has ramifications for those certifications. So
Yep.
It's the kind of thing where Falcon 9 is a solved problem. It works great. It could, there's obviously room for improvement, which is what the Starship system is about. And it is tempting, of course, to look at Starship and Super Heavy and say, well, this is obviously a better answer than the answer they were able to come to with Falcon 9 on X or Y or Z. But it doesn't make sense, I would say, basically every time, maybe like 99.9% of the time, to sort of backport those improvements to Falcon 9 because for everything that we just said, it requires changes to the vehicle, which for various reasons is not tenable. But good question from Everyday Space Nerd. I like that question.
Hey, Dust, can I make another camera request?
Absolutely.
Ooh.
The camera we're showing on the left side, can we get a slight tilt upward?
Absolutely. Give me just 1 second.
I'm looking at the barrier between the engine section, because you have to remember the very bottom of Starship is not the very bottom of the tank, because the engines are sitting in there. So, but there's a inner tank seam that you can kind of see visible there where the bottom of the tank actually is, and I'm beginning to see some frost forming right about there. I think I want to get a closer look.
Oh,
The
yeah,
right,
good eye.
Which one? The right-hand side or the left-hand side?
Left-hand side. I want a
Okay.
close-up view of the bottom of Starship tanks.
Gotcha. So that is going to be right up here.
Dust has a lot of cameras when he's like, it's this one. The longer the hesitation, you can probably come up with some kind of formula there. Like the longer
Or
the
how many
hesitation,
cameras he's looking at it
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
Did we go up
It's
high enough
that
there,
meme.
Thomas?
Hey, Das, I need you to move a camera. And he goes, you have any idea, the slightest idea how little that narrows it down?
Okay.
I think
I'll just
we
move a
can
random
see it.
camera.
Looks like it does look like there's
a
some
little
frost
bit,
there.
right?
There's definitely
Yeah.
some streaks there. It sort of goes up and down through that band where there's not really anything. You see that?
Yeah.
Right. I think it might just be the very beginnings of nitrogen beginning to pool at the bottom of that tank.
Yeah. I'll leave that up like that a little bit so we can keep an eye on it.
Perfect. Thank you.
They're definitely go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say I also moved this angle around so we can also see Starship, the QD arm up there and stuff as well. So
Perfect. It does, clearly they're flowing something through Starship as that QD arm is frosty and the vents, the formerly tri-vents, now what we call engine chill vents, are definitely active on the ship.
Yep.
So stuff is flowing, whether or not it's enough to make it frosty. Maybe they'll start increasing volumes here shortly. So we'll have to A/B test in a minute. Let's see. Dougal is asking, is there a new grass vent and bullhorn vent, or bullnose, or whatever
Nice.
it was? I think there's at least a new vent with a name, right? Is that what were you guys calling it earlier? Was that the Pope vent?
The Pope vent.
Or the Pope stack or something like that?
Yes, the Pope. I actually was just showing that because I zoomed in a little bit to see if they had chosen a new space Pope yet.
Space Pope, for all you Futurama fans out there. But good stuff from Dougal. Oliver, this is probably one DOS can answer. Oliver is asking, do you have a temperature sensor in the robot? I wonder if the cloud is cold.
I do have multiple temperature sensors, but they're for things that are inside of the other enclosures, so they're going to read way high. I can tell you what the temperature in the device that's actually doing the uplink and the camera and that sort of thing, but that's the internal temperature of those. It's not an external air temperature sensor. I am interested in deploying some things like that to get a little bit other bits of telemetry from the environment around the cameras. We have a couple places where we have some things like that. So that is a good idea that I have thought about. It's just got to bubble up the list of things DOS has time to do.
Yeah. Although I can definitely confirm without any temperature sensor that yes, the cloud is cold. The reason you see the cloud is because it's cold. That is air condensing. Colder than the condensation point of air.
There you go. Thank you.
I got you. No problem.
Yeah, it definitely looks like frost is increasing on that Starship tank. Like it has grown, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is going up from that line. Yep.
Very cool. Let's see. Here's one I know Thomas can probably speak to a little bit. I'm gonna butcher your name. I apologize. Ogan? Egan? It's probably Egan. Either way, Mr. Robson says, I would just like to say thank you. I've just been admitted to San Jose State to study aerospace engineering, one step closer to my dream job of working on Starship. Thanks, guys.
Hey,
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, any tips there, Thomas? I know it's not exactly the same degree or anything, right? But
Well, I mean, aerospace engineering, yeah, I did go to San Jose State, but yeah, my only words of advice would be to, just keep on top of the work, make sure you're dedicating enough time, and it's going to be difficult. It's not an easy degree by any means, but just keep yourself focused on what you want to do with that degree, and that'll help you stay motivated to keep on the work and things like that. And don't be afraid to reach out to help with other fellow students and things like that. You're all in that together.
very cool. To everybody out there who is currently slogging through schoolwork, trying to get to a point where you can be doing the thing you really want to do rather than the schoolwork, more power to you. You'll get there. Hang in there. Better times are coming.
And get involved with real life projects. I work in a lab here at my university doing actual engineering work for actual spaceflight applications while I'm still working on the degree. 10 out of 10, that is the best way to keep you excited about what you're doing, because it's reminding you of the real work that gets done using the skills you're learning in class. And it's way better to get involved in those kind of projects instead of sticking strictly to schoolwork, because sometimes the classwork can be a little abstract, especially early on, and you're like, this seems to be a little bit removed from what I actually came here to learn how to do, but then you start applying it in some real life projects and it kind of reminds you about what you're actually working on. So that's another recommendation I'll have.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
As someone who went to film school and has completely no idea what he's talking about in this respect, I think that is a really good recommendation, because that's also a way to get on companies' radars, right?
Definitely.
Companies want to know about how you've applied what you've learned in school. They want to know what sort of extracurriculars you've done. And I know SpaceX, for one, recruits heavily, or at least has recruited heavily, out of college F1 programs. From college F1 teams.
The Formula SAE teams and things like that universities have. I know SpaceX, and SpaceX is not the only one. That's one name that comes up. But tons of companies recruit straight out of those kind of teams. So if you want to get involved in stuff like that. And like rocketry clubs or engine propulsion teams at universities and stuff like that, totally.
Very cool. Awesome. Here, run through some more super chats real quick. How about that?
Yeah.
Because we can't do what we do without y'all's support. I mean, the data on so many of these, all of the robots, but my point is that there's a lot of robots now. The data alone is is not something to take lightly. So thank you to everybody for the support. Sir Gawain, thank you so much. I'm getting Lancelot vibes. or whatever that book was. Was the book called Lancelot? Anyways,
What?
they're Sir Gawain and Lancelot. They're it's King Arthur stuff to us. Never
It's
mind.
King Arthur stuff. No, I know, but like, what?
Gabaj Lewell, thank you for the support. They provided us with £3.18, which it's the 16th today. You got to do 316, which is I'm thinking was what they were trying to do. Anyways, Moldy Space. Can you guess what Moldy Space is saying with their very generous super chat?
Because
hours?
it's foggy, it's gonna be a Thomas Fog Club.
Thomas
It's
Fog Club,
no, it's
nice.
just Thomas Fan Club. It's just a standard fan club today. Thank you, Moldy Space.
Appreciate it, Moldy Space.
Let's see. Jim Geddes, thank you for the support. They say I saw the first Falcon Heavy launch and hope to see the first Starship Super Heavy launch. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, Jim, for the support. We're definitely, of course, we're all super excited for the first full stack Starship launch. It's going to be absolutely bonkies.
Bonkies.
Yeah, bonkies. It's a technical term.
Trust NASASpaceflight for all your accurate news reporting about what's going on with the totally bonky Starship program. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah.
The headline for our article covering the first orbital flight will be like, totally bonky's test flight lifts off.
We have the balance here. We have Jack and we have Thomas, the news director, and by their powers combined, I hope you enjoyed this.
We're unstoppable together.
There you go.
Well, okay, you want me to get technical? One bonky is actually 1/1000th of a kilo bonky, and it goes up from there. 1 mega bonky is 1,000 kilo bonky. I mean, you get it.
Oh, they're metric?
Yeah.
A metric.
Congratulations, you've discovered the metric system.
Oh, goodness.
Look at the ice forming, by the way. There is ice forming.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They are 100% starting to fill those Starship tanks.
Yeah, it's gone from a little sliver of frost there to now basically this entire field of view is all frosty. And thank you for the very well-timed tilt up.
I've got more field of view, Jack.
Yay. Just reach into your bag of tricks and pull out more field of view.
Actually, just clicked the up arrow that time.
Nice.
That's all I had to do. Those stars! Look at how are there so many stars behind? Like, I don't understand. They should have sent this camera to the moon. Nobody would be arguing about why are there no stars in the background. It's like, okay, fine. It's exposed for the lunar surface and the entire universe.
How? Because reasons.
Yeah, right? Jeez.
You can have your ship and eat your stars too. I'm sorry, that didn't work.
Okay,
it didn't
Jeff,
work at
thanks. All right. Anyways, back to Super Chats.
Let's see. Jeff Brown, thank you for the support. They say maybe the arms on the ship QD were removed because SpaceX decided they were unneeded. Chopsticks should stabilize till launch. Elon does like to delete parts. That's entirely plausible. We were kind of talking about that earlier, right? James Jerry's, thanks for the support. Kind of on the same vein that he says, didn't Elon say that the QD arms, or QD claw, main purpose was to stabilize the booster during lifts? Maybe they learned that they didn't need them last lift. Also entirely possible. It's like, where do you fall on the lobster claw situation? Are they going to come back modified? Are they never coming back? Were they unneeded? So many questions. It's one of those things where having those daily videos and having eyes on the ground in the form of Mary and Nick enables us to sort of keep our finger on the pulse. And as soon as we see a crane lifting something back up to the QD arm, you know that we will be tweeting about it, showing it on Starbase Live and all that, and adding that piece to the puzzle that we are assembling here. James Juries, again, thanks for the support. Talking about LV0009, congrats to Astra, and Thomas Fan Club. So thank you for the support there.
Thank you.
Let's see. Baby Yoda Velocitas? I think I got that right. They're saying, do the GSE tanks have active cooling? Oh, I don't think we know that.
I would think so. I think they're just insulated.
Cooling? Yeah, geez.
And then they ask how much of nitrogen or oxygen or methane boils off when they tank and then detank. You're asking for like specific numbers, like speeds and feeds over here. I don't think we know the answers to some of these questions. We could probably do some very complicated math, at least complicated for an idiot film nerd like me. But yeah, I don't think we know the answer to that question, unfortunately. But thank you for the support there, Baby Yoda. I mean, you gotta figure some non-zero amount does actually boil off, and that is why they are consistently delivering propellants and nitrogen to the tank farm. Like every single day, there's multiple tankers that are going through. So
The idea is that the tanks minimize boil off to an almost negligible amount, for the ground tanks at least. But it's still it's pretty difficult to have it be zero boil off.
Yep, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
that makes sense.
Crafty is asking, what's the current environmental assessment stated completion date? Any official rumblings about it since it was last pushed back? We kind of talked about this earlier as well. Haven't heard any rumblings. Don't know if it's going to get pushed again. Current
It is
date is... Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just say currently it's the end of this month, the 30th of March, but that can be pushed back. So it's kind of weird to be calling that a deadline when they can just push it back. So, but yeah,
Excellent.
that's the current date, and no rumblings of one way or the other whether it'll actually happen by then.
Hey, and this just in, y'all. You know that we not just do live streams, we do the daily videos and stuff like that, all the different ways we cover stuff. And the articles that get written are a big way that you can get caught up. Not everybody has time to watch 8-hour streams of ice forming on the sides of stainless steel. So if you visit our website, NASASpaceflight.com, you can actually see articles such as this one by Jack Beyer. Totally bonkies launch time, my dudes.
Yep, I'm a writer now. Add that to my list of
Yeah,
jobs.
there's your byline. There, cite that as your work for the writing there, Jack. I hope that was cool for me to show that.
So good.
Yeah, of course.
You spoiled it. You spoiled the announcement.
What? Oh, sorry. Jeez, I wasn't told. You gotta tell me these things in advance.
So great.
For real though, there is a new Starship article that got published summarizing all the recent happenings in Boca and what's coming up next with this testing. It is actually on the site if you go and check it out. And the headline is not totally bonky's launch time, my dudes, nor was it written by Jack. But NSF's own Chris Bergen did write up a new Starship roundup for today. So
How about
feel
that?
free to
There.
check that. There you go. That's
I'll do
the
my
actual
penance
article.
and show the actual article here. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, those articles are super helpful. At least the real ones are. Especially, if say you're going to commentate on a stream and you need to get caught up very rapidly.
Yeah, it's funny how
for the
often that
launch
happens
of a
around
Falcon 9 or something. It is extremely useful to read those articles.
True. I found myself skimming the article more than one time before a stream. It's like, wait, what's launching? Oh, internet satellites. Okay, I gotcha.
Yep.
Hey, this is
Very
also
good way.
Go ahead.
Joss, if you go back to the main page, there's actually
Oh, yeah?
another article that we almost got. That's not
I
what
was-
I meant, but we should also
I was
plug the
doing.
shop.
Oh, geez. Apparently, we're stuck in the shop. Once you end up in the shop, you can't go back to news. Okay, I'm back on the main site. Sorry.
Yeah, just go to the front page of the website. There's another article that was we talked about earlier. We were talking about the difference between cryoproof testing and the wet dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
And if you just click the NSF logo on the screen, DOS. Maybe. I don't
Is that
know.
where I'm supposed to be?
There you go. There.
Hey.
Okay,
The
yeah, a little delay.
Methalox race article, bottom right of your screen right now.
Oh,
that
yeah,
goes
yeah,
into a
this
lot
one.
of detail about why vehicles are using Methalox as propellant, methane and liquid oxygen, such as Starship, and a quick status update on a bunch of different rockets that are doing that, including Starship. Shameless self-plug because I helped write this one. But if you are interested in more about why methane is becoming a thing, this is a really cool article that myself and Adrian Beal did a lot of work on. So feel free to check it out.
Is it TLDR? I haven't read it yet, but is it partially at least because of how clean methane burns for turbopump purposes and also how cheap it is?
Yes, both of those factors. Methane is really good for reusable rockets because unlike kerosene, it won't clog up your engines after every flight and need to be cleaned out. It burns a lot cleaner. And like we kind of mentioned earlier, methane is a lot cheaper to acquire, which is useful when rockets themselves are getting cheaper and you want to reduce your cost even further.
I'm
Nice.
reading the article.
There you go.
Yeah. Does anybody else do that? Does anybody else like select stuff while they're reading it sometimes? Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah. All right, cool.
I like to use the top of the screen as like a keep an eye on where you're
Oh
at in the
yeah, like
paragraph
this sort
kind
of
thing.
deal. Like, okay, that's where I am. Okay, next paragraph. Okay, there we go. Anyways, also there's a merch store there. There's places that you can get some cool merch, like the full stack merch that we have. I'm actually wearing this one a lot. The Texas Tank Watcher's new design. I got this
Nice.
pillow. Right, we actually have this pillow wherever the pillow is on the list. Yeah, here we go. And it showed up at the house, and I'm not sure where it ended up after my wife found it. But it did show up at the house, and it was fantastic. And then my wife realized that more merchandise had arrived, and it's somewhere around here, I'm sure. Certainly, it didn't get burnt or thrown out. So, anyways, let's go back to the ice.
Indeed, Starship, full stack, cryo-proof for the first time. You're looking at it. It's so you see on the left there how the ship has sort of Looks like a little bit of condensation has formed by that little strip of tiles, and then it's caused like a drip to roll down the side of the barrel and like remove some of the frost. It just looks like it looks so cool. This definitely feels like we're getting another step towards reality for this system in terms of being a functioning rocket. Do you see? Okay, wait. Look on the QD arm. Are those flashing lights?
Something blowing. It's
I
either
think
flashing
they're
lights
just
or-
like little tags or something on those lines that are getting flown around by wind
Yeah.
and stuff. I don't think they're
couldn't-
lights.
I couldn't tell if it was like venting or lights or what. Like there's a little bit of
Gotcha, Jack.
condensation coming off of some of the plumbing.
It also could just be a little bit of vapor coming off a really cold pipe or something.
Yeah.
Those look like little tags or something that are flapping. in the
Yeah,
wind.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. The
What a cool
crazy
shot,
thing-
though.
You see that triangular platform on the sort of the left-hand side? It's got the grid like you walk on.
Yep.
There's not like a rail around that, and there's just people up there working when they were connecting things. There's just workers up there standing on that thing. I guess you just act like it's ground level. So,
It's pretty wild. I
they're
think
all
they
tied
do
in,
have,
of course, but
Exactly. I was gonna say. I think they
Yeah.
like clip into something at least, but still, I wouldn't want to like slip and fall off and have my entire life rely on that little clip.
looks like that one blue on the diagonal there. It's just like a blue piece of painter's tape or something wrapped on there. There's actually a blue and a red one. I wonder if that means something. Those platforms seem to be chained back. You can actually see a chain behind the blue.
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
it's like a blue and a red tie strap. Huh.
Huh.
I hadn't closely looked at that before, and here we go. Let's closely look at it. We got time, chat. Y'all got time?
Can we look like at the QD arm as a whole at this level of zoom, but basically just pan to the right?
Like pan over? Yeah, sure.
Look at us using pan and tilt properly. I'm so proud.
I almost didn't know which direction to go, but luckily you said pan instead of tilt. See, but really, Jack, the problem is, what is this called then?
Oh god.
Like pilt?
Yeah, that's a diagonal pilt.
Well, it can't be tan. That's already something.
And that's a totally different thing. But yeah, you can actually see. Look back in here. You see those pipes that seem to be either insulated or frosty?
Yes.
There's
is what I
actually
wanted to
vapors
see.
coming off of that. That's not tags flapping in the breeze.
Right.
That's vapors.
That's super cool looking.
Little ice just came off. That was cool.
Neat. Thanks for driving the camera there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Bullfiddle, thank you for the support. They say, what do you think about a sky bridge walkway between the high bay and Y bay? I think that would be really cool. I don't think it'll happen, but
Yeah.
who knows? SpaceX has done weirder stuff. Just super neat to see the plumbing that is being used for this test. Frosty all the way back to the tower.
I mean, remember, we
Probably-
can look into the tower as well. I don't know
I was just about to say, it's probably frosty up and down the tower for that matter.
if we can't locate some of that. It may not be as well lit, so it may be harder to distinguish in the depths of the tower there. But
Now I want to go to Wendy's and get a frosty. This stream not sponsored by Wendy's.
Yet.
Yet.
nice.
James Jury, speaking of the frost, says, I want to lick the frost. Don't do it.
Don't do
Don't
it. That's
do
a
it.
bad idea. That's a very bad idea.
It's like the big red button. You don't press it. So you do not lick the frosty booster.
They scrubbed the launch because somebody triple dog dared them to lick the booster. Come on.
You
The
don't
triple
understand. That was
dog
a
dare.
Triple dog dare.
Yeah, I can't really. It's just not well lit in the
Yeah,
middle
can't
of the
discern
tower.
any pipes in there.
Yeah. Maybe lower down where we get out of that work structure, we might be able to see something. But that's why the tower vents. I mean, here, let's go a little bit faster than that.
Neat.
Is that venting coming off the ground? Yeah, that venting
I think so.
looks like it's coming out of the ground. This is just cool.
Nick
Literally.
Barker in chat says patilt for the answer to your
Patilt.
question there.
But tilt. You don't pronounce the P. It's just tilt, but it's
It's
tilt.
it's
Tilt with
patil.
a- yeah, it's the P is silent.
Yeah, it's like pterodactyl. Like
Yeah, exactly.
I like that way too much. I'm an idiot.
there's the Pope vent, the Pope stack we were talking about.
Oh,
in
yeah.
that article. Yeah.
Yeah, if that smoke or if that vapor turns black, one, very bad things are happening somewhere at the tank farm, and two, a new space pope has been discovered, or sorry, chosen.
Discovered. Maybe you do discover a space pope. Maybe that's how that system works.
Could be. I'm not space Catholic, so I wouldn't know. Let's see. Musical Wolves asking how many cams can fit on a Starship. I'm getting ears of corn vibes about this question. I don't think we have done a volume calculation on cameras to figure that out. But thank you for the support, Musical Wolves.
A lot.
Yeah. Suffice to say, a lot. Wesley Heron, thanks for the support. They say, question about the Kennedy flyovers. Looks like you guys can fly over Roberts Road, but I'm guessing you can only get so close to the launch pads. That's correct. You can't necessarily fly straight over KSC and get really close to the launch pads. So that is how that goes. But luckily, we are able to fly above and around the Roberts Road site where SpaceX is building basically Starbase East or Starbase Florida or Starbase 2 or whatever you want to call it. I guess if you watch enough Star Trek, they do call Starbase by numbers. So maybe Starbase 2 is what we should go with.
I still like the idea of Boca Chica being like Starbase Boca Chica, and there'd be like a Starbase Kennedy or something. I don't know what you want to call it, but that would be a great naming convention for Starship spaceports.
That is what I would go with if you ask me. But Star Trek is kind of swaying my thinking at the moment. But no, I completely agree. Like Starbase Boca Chica and Starbase, I don't know, maybe Starbase Florida, just because it's so concise. Like rather than having to say Starbase Kennedy Space
Starbase
Center
in like Miami or something, Earth transportation.
That's fair. Well, okay, so
then we get vague.
Then we get into the philosophical question of what is a starbase? Is a starbase where starships are manufactured and launched, or just launched, or?
That's a good point.
Yeah, that is a good point. Like, do you have
maybe,
like a sub-starbase or something?
Yeah, like maybe if it's just a launch site or a landing site, you call it like a star fort.
Starport.
Starport's not bad, but it's not going to any other stars.
It's not going to other stars.
It's only going to one star. It's not even going to one star. It's just going to other planets. Like, come on. I know that's a common complaint.
Quit sucking the fun out of the room. We're all over here having fun. Stop it. But you're right. Let's see. Mike Hatfield, thanks for the support so much and for the kind words. They say, so glad to see what you all do. Thank you. I know there's a lot of work to do what you all do. It really is, believe it or not. But I don't think any of us begrudges the hard work. I think we all feel, I don't want to speak for everyone here, but I have a feeling I do. I think we all feel very lucky to be doing what we're doing and able to cover this stuff like we do, and just very, very grateful for y'all's support so that we can do what we do.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm just hoping we get most of the big infrastructure work done before summer comes back around down at Boca.
Oh, yeah.
Summer in Boca, not a joke.
Yeah, that's a tough time to be doing work outdoors, and we were deploying a ton of stuff last summer. Because of y'all's support, we were able to really expand our operation down there, and it's hot. That's the only thing you can say. It gets hot out there.
Yep, stupid hot. Like, how is this so hot?
Yeah.
As someone who likes to hang out in the desert out here in California, who goes to Death Valley relatively frequently, it's too hot. I'll hang out in Death Valley in summer before I'll hang out in Boca in summer. Maybe not, because Boca has rockets. But you get my drift. Let's see. What do we got here? Josh Ritterhoff. Thank you for the generous support there. They say, Jack, lucked out seeing a pair of Mirage F1s taking off from the local Air Force base earlier. Thought of you. NASA Spaceflight crew rocks. Thanks for always putting a smile on this nerd's face. Well, you're welcome, Josh. Thanks for watching what we do, watching our coverage, taking part. I'm glad we bring some enjoyment to your life. I'm not being goofy just for fun over here. I hope it's at least a little bit amusing. But seriously, thank you. I've never seen an F1 or Mirage in real life. That's a cool catch.
That's a cool catch.
Let's see. Jacob, thank you for the support. Glenn, thank you for the support. They say Star Dock. It should be called a Star Dock. Okay. I'll buy it. I'll buy that for $1.
All right.
Let's see. Nathan Owens asking again about the Kennedy Space Center flyover videos. Can you get Max Our Planet to sponsor for imaging? That would be a good idea. I do think adding in some satellite imagery to those flyover videos might be a good idea going forward. If you don't know what we're talking about, if you've been living under a YouTube rock, we are starting to do Kennedy Space Center flyovers, and we've done, I think, 4 now, and that is because the Starship activity out there is really ramping up. So if you're aching for some more Starship coverage, or you just want to know what the heck is going on with Starship in terms of how's the environmental assessment going to pan out, what effect does that have on the whole program, go check out those Kennedy Space Center flyover videos when you get a chance. They're on this channel. Just scroll down the feed a little bit if you missed it. But that's a good idea, Nathan. We'll have to add that to the pile of ideas. James Juries again says rename NSF to BSF, Bonkies, Spaceflight. I didn't think Bonkies was going to get such a reaction. I wouldn't have said. Let's see. Bobby McKay, thanks for the support. They say it's cool watching the stars go by on the current camera on the left. Very noticeable that the rotation of Earth, oh my God, I can't talk. Very noticeable the rotation of the Earth with that view. There we go. I said a sentence.
Yeah. Hey, really quick, I want to do a quick thing here as we're continuing our cryo-proof coverage. Again, this is the first ever full stack cryogenic proof test for Starship 20, Booster 4 over at the orbital launch site, and we're just going to do a quick commentary rotation because I think we've got a new voice joining the commentary here. NSF writer Ian Atkinson. Ian, you with us?
Yes, I am, Thomas. Glad to be here for the second night in a row now.
All right, welcome back to the coverage, Ian, and thanks for hopping on. I'm going to actually take a quick hop off, but you'll be left in the hands of Ian, Das, and Jack for continuing coverage of today's testing.
Awesome.
Excellent. How you doing, Ian?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
We are watching some tanks.
Very exciting. It looks like the tanks are doing something exciting here.
It's one of our core competencies, watching tanks. I'm going to put that on my resume.
Yes.
I am an expert in watching tanks. I will definitely put that on my resume tomorrow.
we need like oh God, I'm going to hate the corporate stuff I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it as a joke. To be clear, it's a joke. We need a mission statement.
A mission statement?
We need a mission statement
tanks.
describing, we can go over our core competencies, including the fact that we watch tanks.
You could just say watch tanks, though.
Mission statement, watch tanks. Done.
Like all lowercase letters. Mission statement, watches tanks.
Nice.
Leverages synergies to watch tanks. There, that's like a mission statement.
Perfect. Oh man, that's amazing.
So welcome, Ian. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome, buddy. Feel free if there's any questions in the queue that you see pique your interest, go for it.
Absolutely, and I'm peeking through the queue right now.
While you do that, I will just say really quickly, thank you so much to Donald Swanson for becoming a PadRat member, and thank you to Tennille's Weather Space Station. Thank you for becoming a Capcom member. So much. Thank you. In case you guys don't know, we talked about it a little bit earlier. We've got the membership program. It's one of the several ways that you can support what we do. We super, super appreciate and rely on the members and their support. We seriously appreciate it so much. And Tennille's Weather Space Station, y'all, with Capcom membership, you get Discord access. So pop into our Discord. I think you already have, and I've already classic Forrest Gump wave there. So welcome to the Discord. Get ready for some, dare I say, bonkies chat in party chat. And there's a whole bunch of other channels. There's a gaming channel where we do Kerbal Space Program stuff. There's tech channel if you're into that. There's all kinds of fun stuff. So enjoy the Discord, and thank you for all the support to our members. We could not do what we do without y'all.
Absolutely. And you're talking about questions that pique my interest. And I actually have one here from Ryan saying, why don't the heat shield tiles get frosty? And that's actually an interesting question because if you see on the right, the steel is pretty frosty, but the tiles on the left aren't. And that actually goes with the purpose of the tiles. The tiles are there to insulate the ship. They're there to insulate the ship from the extreme heats of reentry. So as it's coming through the atmosphere, the friction from the ship is heating up the air around it. And that is actually causing an extreme amount of heat. Now, even though stainless steel has a high melting point, that extreme heat would still melt the steel. And you don't want your Starship to melt when it's coming back. So they have the tiles on there to insulate the steel. And as a side effect of that, the tiles are not only good at insulating heat away from Starship, they're also good at insulating cold from Starship getting onto the surface of the tiles. So they are acting as insulation so we don't see any frost on the outside of those tiles.
Yep. Is some of the frost sort of melting up there above the line we were talking about? It looks like it's got a clear area. I don't know if that's a trick of the lighting or what.
Yeah, it looks like it's coming down at least a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe
I'll
they're doing a
mosey
little bit
down
of
here in a
detanking
second.
or something.
Yeah, we'll go down and look at the other frost line in a bit here and see what we can see. Real quick, I'm not going to stay on this camera for very long, but look at this. This is from a camera that we normally have looking at the production site, and not the best low light camera there, but I just saw sort of a little quarter angle with the fins and stuff, so I thought I'd hop that up real quick. But continuing on with the cryo testing.
Yeah, and that's a cool view. Actually, it looks like a sort of the skyline peeking over the trees there.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent.
Cool. And yeah, it does look like the frost on the ship is receding a little bit. So maybe they're doing a sort of drain test here now. And a question here from David asking, which part will they try to catch first with the chopsticks, the booster or the ship? Assuming they don't try both on the same mission. I would go and say the booster first, because the ship has or had landing legs, and the booster will never have landing legs, at least as far as we've seen. So, do you guys think ship or booster is going to be They're going to try to catch the ship or booster first? There we go. Which do you guys? I think so too.
Yeah, I also vote booster.
Yeah, just because the booster has been, at least from day one of booster construction, has always been aimed to be catched or caught with the chopsticks.
Yep.
I do wonder, like, at what point we'll see another ship with legs, if at all. I mean, I assume it's got to happen at some point.
HLS.
At least for point to point, or exactly, you beat me to it, or HLS.
I mean, there are going to be starships that have landing legs because there is no starbase on Mars yet. There's no starbase on the moon yet, right? Like, at some point, a starship is going to have to land there without a tower present.
Yep.
SpaceX is going to take Maston's fast technology and be like, aha, I see you, and I raise you. Our rocket engine throws out the parts for a launch tower.
Throws out a
launch tower.
That's such a wacky concept.
Look, at the end of the day, aren't the legs just a launch tower? Like, isn't it just put the legs down there and call it the launch tower?
There we go. Done.
If you think about it.
Big brain time today in the stream.
Yeah, we haven't seen any ships with landing legs since, I guess, Ship 16 was the last one. Because Ship 20 doesn't. Ship 24 and 25 we've seen, they don't have legs. So it seems like those are off the table, at least for now.
Yeah.
And actually, coming off of that, we have a question from Christian here asking, when do you think the first catch attempt will be? That's a tricky one, because we haven't even seen the first orbital flight yet. And we know, at least the plan was a little while ago, they are not doing a catch attempt on the first orbital flight. Again, plans can change very quickly down at Boca Chica, but it seemed like the plan was always wait a few launches before trying a catch, because as of right now, they don't know, A, if Super Heavy will even make it to main engine cutoff, and they don't know, B, if the Raptors will be able to reignite after reentry. So there's a lot of stuff they're going to learn on the first mission, which is currently being aimed to do a water landing, similar to the early Falcon 9 water landings. So probably a while, 2 to 3 launches out from the first ever catch attempt.
I'm going to be bold and say on orbital flight attempt 2, they'll try a catch attempt. But I could be wrong. I'm just guessing over here, really.
Flight 1 is, well, I don't know. There was some nebulosity in that document about the suborbital/orbital flight. So I don't know that we could say, like, the first time they may target an area that doesn't have a tower, but then try to hover or try to come in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it was just, like, straight on auguring in. But I would be curious to see if they didn't target an area and try to land as if they were being caught when they're nowhere near the actual launch tower, like they did with Falcon 9s on occasion, where they would do like a soft landing in the water. They didn't have a drone ship underneath, but they got all sorts of useful telemetry, and they learned a lot about how the vehicle would perform, how their systems would perform, and all that sort of stuff. So I imagine there's going to be something like that with the Super Heavy booster as well, but maybe not as many, because there's an awful lot of engines on the bottom of the booster.
Sure enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good supposition.
Yep. And going through some super chats here, we have from Super Steve, $5, saying, do you think they could fill the ship with LN2 as a ballast for a full booster static fire? So I assume with that, they're meaning you fill the tanks of the ship up with liquid nitrogen to act as a sort of weight to fully stress the booster during a static fire. That's an interesting question. What do you guys think? Do like a sort of cryoproof of the ship to act as a little weight on top for the booster?
I mean, it seems plausible. Like if you do need the waste, you need the mass in the system. You could pump something that is not flammable or explosive into the ship up top to use that as the mass.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. That makes sense. But then if you do that, you would also have to... Actually, no, you could just pressurize the booster. You don't need to fully fuel it, as we can see here. But yeah, that's actually an interesting concept. Good idea, Steve.
Yep.
And from Russell here, a $100 super chat. Thank you very much, Russell. And they're asking, could a Canadian cargo arm open a beer chilled by a cryo-cooled Starship? That's quite a crossover. I don't see why not, but...
I think they could. I don't see
I
why
think
they
so.
wouldn't have the dexterity. Maybe they'd have to extend the size of the little... Are we talking like a bottle or like a can with a pull tab? I guess that would be important to define for that
Does it
engineering
need a
experiment.
thumb? Does it need a thumb to open the beer? Or is it like...
I mean,
It's got pinchers, like...
give it just put like a little bottle opener extension on it. You have the Dexter robotic
like
arm. Just give
Dexter?
that. Yeah, give it a little robotic can opener.
I hate to be Mr. Semantics over here, but I guess we got to get into what do you define as open? I mean, if you just break a bottle of beer, that's technically an open bottle of beer.
I mean,
We're not
Canadarm is
asking. We're not asking if the Canadarm would win in a bar fight.
Spoiler, it would.
I wouldn't go up against it.
Well, also it's in
Ugh.
space, so you couldn't breathe. So that would be Canadarm too. So
Yeah, exactly.
Idea for merch: Canadarm on a shirt which says "Let's arm wrestle."
Ooh.
Seriously though, Russell, thank you for that super generous support.
Yeah.
Can't emphasize enough how awesome it is that people are coming out and supporting what we do so much, because hey, it lets us do what we do, and we could not do it without y'all. So thank you, Russell.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Russell. And we have one from Norm here saying, how about doing a video showing the progress of Starbase over the past 1.5 years? Remember the muddy parking lot? Now look, let's light this candle. And I agree, let's light this candle. But
That's
yeah,
a cool idea.
I like that idea, like a big, long recap from Hoppy to now. Cool idea. Thanks, and thanks for support, Norm.
Yeah, I remember no parking lot. I remember just side of the road. Just
Yep.
side of the road with 300 cars after they did that one hiring surge. And it's where did this come from? Oh, man. It's been a long and interesting trek. And it's exciting to see, given that knowledge, where we're going to go in the next year or two.
Absolutely. But thank you for the support, Norm. And from Chaz here saying, are y'all seeing the member milestone super chats? What exactly is a member milestone super chat? Is that just saying they've been a member for X amount of months?
yeah, we were talking about this, but it doesn't seem like those are coming through. So it's something that's going to take a couple days to look at. Like it's almost like when you resub. I guess you've been a member for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, whatever, right? It looks like that might be something that YouTube added that isn't getting picked up in the API that we read from. So yeah, Chaz, we're aware of that. I was talking with Chaz on a DM, and we're aware of it. It's just going to take a couple days to look at.
Gotcha. That sucks. But thanks, Chaz. And yes, sucks we can't see those, but thanks for the support.
Yeah, I normally have the YouTube chat open next to Discord and a variety of other windows, and shows me what you all are seeing. And my internet was acting weird, so I closed it and just restarted Safari and then forgot to reopen YouTube chat. So now I'm looking at YouTube chat again. So if that kind of stuff pops up, I will try and call it out. Yeah, I'm helpful.
Nice.
You're always helpful, Jack.
Let's not debate it. Anyways, moving on.
But from Clever Flames 2 here with a $50 super chat, thank you very much for that, saying, do you think if the FAA environmental review gets denied, that they should disassemble some of the launch pad to ship to Cape Canaveral so that they save some time, or should they just build everything from the ground up?
Ground up. It's a good
I
question,
agree.
though.
Yep, that's a very good question.
Probably the ground up. I mean, like, what parts would you disassemble? Like, you're going to take down the QD arm and put it on a barge and send it over there? The
Yeah.
chopsticks? Like, the size of some of these things is a little bit hard to understand, but transporting them any sort of long distances is very difficult to do. I
Yep.
don't see how they would, oh, let's just take the chopsticks down and then ship the chopsticks down to the Cape. Certainly it's possible to do, but they're just massive pieces of equipment. They're massive constructions, and they've just been building them on site. I don't see how you could realistically move them. It's going to be interesting because remember, the other day there was some tweets going on, and the Brownsville airport said that they had a spot for a Starship, and then Elon was like, okay, cool. And I'm not sure if anybody did the math on how you would move a Starship from Starbase to the Brownsville airport. There
That's
are
funny.
there's a lot of cables that go over the road and stuff like that. Stoplights you'd have to take down. It's not just like a clear path like it is out at Boca. It would be an awful. It'd be awesome. I hope that it does get done. It's something that's certainly doable. But there would be an awful lot of planning and work that would have to go into moving a Starship from Starbase, even just 15 miles up the road to the Brownsville airport.
I really like that you mentioned that, though, because I believe that whole chain started off because Gene from Space Padre said something about, having a Starship at Padre Island, sort of at the entrance there to Padre Island, or South Padre Island. I guess I should specify which Padre Island. And I bet you that even though it is a huge pain to move a Starship to Brownsville Airport, it is a slightly less huge pain than moving the same Starship to South Padre Island. So
all the way around, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe in part that placement came about as a sort of easier way to get a Starship on display than having to somehow figure out how to get it over to South. I haven't been to South Padre Island. There's literally one bridge.
Yep.
It's one bridge. It's like 2 lanes. You go 55 miles an hour on it or something. God, I hope the speed limit's 55 and not like 40 or something. Either way.
It's been under construction recently, so it was lower.
Okay, good point. But point is, there's one bridge in and out of South Padre Island. I suspect to get a Starship there, they would have to barge it somehow. I don't even know what that would look like, if that's even possible. So, yeah, I'm just wanted to throw that hat into the ring there, as I wonder if Brownsville Airport came about as sort of an alternative answer to, well, it would still be a pain, but it's actually, reasonably plausible versus South Padre Island, where it's like, I'm like, how would they even do that?
See, the problem is you want to put it at the airport, and the FAA actually has to do a 5-year assessment on how it would affect the plane navigation in and around the airport before they. I'm kidding, I made that up, but it seems like something that would be legit.
You had me hook, line, and sinker. I was like, really? Ugh.
The FAA blocks them putting a Starship at the airport. Like, I'm kidding, folks. That's not a real thing. I just was joking on that. Please, nobody write mean letters to the FAA, okay?
But anyway, thank you for the support, Clever Flames. And from John Dopeker here, saying, with this being a historical couple of days, just for kicks, could you all do a basic comparison of Starship versus SLS? I think the basic comparison is they're 2 very different vehicles with 2 very different purposes. One is meant to harness old technology from the space shuttle program to make its development quicker and cheaper, whereas the other one is meant to be fully reusable, have a fast-paced development by failing often. So these are 2 very different vehicles, very different design perspectives, and very different end goals in mind. So it's really tough to compare Starship and SLS in a short amount of time.
I mean, I can. Starship good, SLS bad. Done.
Jack, why
I'm
not
sorry.
Starship
I'm
good,
sorry.
SLS good?
Starship good, SLS also good, though I wish it was less expensive and less late. But Starship and SLS good, let's be real.
Okay, now
any rocket is a good rocket, except for kill rockets, which are bad rockets.
That I agree with, yes. The boom rockets are bad.
Yes.
But that was very well put, Jack. I think that's a good answer to John's question.
Thanks. I am nothing if not eloquent.
And from Matt Kroc here saying, what are the chances of Frankencrane showing up at Kennedy Space Center? Do they really need Frankencrane, or are there other types of cranes that could do that kind of lift? That I'm not really sure on that.
Full-size tower? I mean,
yeah.
If there is more than one type of crane in the world that can do that, it's probably different configurations of the same type of crane. I don't know that there's like a whole big list of cranes that can do that sort of work. The tower is a big structure. So I would imagine if it's not, it's likely the way these cranes work, right? They're like Legos where you take all these pieces and you configure them the way you want, right? So you're like, I need this many of these booms, and I need this size of jib, and I need this extra extension, and this sort of thing. And you can build cranes of different sizes from pieces. So it's not like what we saw here at Starbase as Frankencrane will ever necessarily exist anywhere else in the exact same configuration. It's literally why the workers called it Frankencrane. The reason that crane was named Frankencrane was because SpaceX was having to get parts that fit that crane system from all over the place just to make a crane assembly that's big enough. And it was all sorts of different colors. There were yellow pieces, there were red pieces, there were green pieces. That's literally why the operators of the crane named it Frankencrane. They asked us to call it Frankencrane. So when it ships out, you take it all apart, hundreds of semi-trucks, like one crane piece per semi-truck, going out, and then they get split up to go to different places. It's not necessarily all the exact same pieces of the crane stay together. Unlike the SpaceX crane that's there, right? They have that SpaceX crane that they bought. It all matches. It's not funny colors or anything like that. It's like one sort of system. Now, they can reconfigure that crane and add things to it, but that crane they're probably not going to take apart and ship anywhere else. But Frankencrane and those big cranes, those crane systems is really the real way to call them. Those are actually modularized, componentized, whatever you want to call it, and you can build different configurations of that crane based on the height, based on the boom reach, based on the mass that you need to load, how much you need to swing around. Like all of those different things just lead you to put together the crane that you need for your job. Now, if they're building another launch tower just like this at Cape Canaveral, we may see something that is very similar to what we saw here, but it may not be. It's not like they pack up that exact crane, every single piece, ship it all down there, then put it back together.
Very well put, Doss. And yeah, I actually didn't think about that. Frankencrane is not just a set kit where you order, I want this I want the Frankencrane, and they send you that. They're just like, I want a crane with these specifications. And they're like, okay, find this part, find this part, find this part, get it all together and ship it down to Boca Chica. It's more just what we have lying around. And that's actually, yeah, that kind of put it into perspective there. So we might see parts of Frankencrane actually come down to KSC.
Yep.
We'll just have to wait and see for our next one of our future flyover videos.
Stay tuned for the flyover videos, exactly.
Some
Shameless
kind
plug.
of configuration of an LR 11350. That'll be really cool to see at Kennedy Space Center, and certainly will be visible from the plane or helicopter. Yeah, it'll be in the flyover videos for sure.
That's going to be cool. If we see it like during a flyover lifting a tower segment, that would be awesome.
That is the true story, by the way. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, why don't you call it the actual name or designation? And it's like, it's literally because the workers say, wait till you see this. Like, we knew what they were going to call it before it even showed up at Boca. And then it showed up and we're like, oh, it's like Mardi Gras crane. And like, no, it's Frankencrane. It's pieced together from many lesser cranes to make a crane that's big enough to do this job.
Jeez.
At some point, I didn't ever see it get shocked with lightning, but I think that's part of the whole Frankenstein thing, so.
I mean, it was taller than the tower, so it would have gotten struck by lightning first.
Well, wait, it would be shocking the ship and booster with lightning because technically Frankenstein was the doctor,
Oh
the
my
monster.
gosh.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, moving on.
Monster. It's Frankencrane's monster. Go ahead, Ian.
No, good. But thank you for the question, Matt. And from James here with a $5 super chat saying, are you excited that Amazon Prime is doing a new Stargate show? Do we know what that is?
I'm not aware. Is there a new Stargate? Oh boy.
I'm not sure. I've heard of Stargate. I've never really been too into it, but
How
very
dare
cool.
you.
Though. I don't know
dare
what
you.
it is.
I'm just not going to do the stream anymore. Y'all can change your own cameras. I'm going to go look this up.
Okay.
But thank you for the question, James. And Doss is looking it up. So, and from Cyberlift here with the $20 super chat saying Starport because the vehicle is called Starship. Take that, Doss. I'm not too sure on the context here, but I guess that's a
Okay,
new
so we were saying earlier, what is a Stargate? Is a Stargate, oh my god, my brain. Is a starbase a place where ships and boosters are made and launched, like Starbase Boca Chica? Or, like, what do you call somewhere where they just launch and land, where they don't actually build them? Is that a starbase, or is that something lesser? And the thing we came up with was a starport.
Okay, I like that. And then, yeah, Starbase is just a complete facility. Okay.
I'm not sure what the Take That DOS comment is about. Maybe it's because I suggested Star Fort, and they think I'm DOS. I don't know.
I don't know. Somebody was calling me Nova the other day, and I'm like, do you not understand that Nova is a completely separate person than me? Well done. You shot yourself in the foot out of the gate there.
Nice. Oh,
Nova's one of our mods, y'all. If you don't hear Nova's voice on the stream, but Nova's one of the moderators that is in the chat.
Shout out to Nova for all the help on the label checking, on Starbase Live, on modding, all the things.
absolutely.
Yep.
And if I may say, my name to throw in the ring for would be Spaceport. I like Spaceport. It's a little snazzier and a little not snazzier, but a little more realistic than Starport. Starport sounds a little too futuristic to me, but that's just me. That's just me. But
Hey,
thanks.
here's a quick question going back to our Starship transport question. Could you fly a Starship to the airport with a Chinook, so a large helicopter, right? Can lift 24,000 pounds. I don't even think we're even close with that on a Starship, right?
Starship's about 90 tons, maybe 100 tons. So you would need. Oh, now we're getting Monty Python. You have to have 2 helicopters lift it with a piece of creeper held between them.
There you
Anyone
go.
get that? There we go.
And yes, I saw somebody in chat ask earlier if Stratolaunch's carrier aircraft Rock could lift a Starship. Yes, but good luck landing it at Starbase Boca Chica. There's no runway.
If you melted it down, maybe you could fit it, but I don't think it would fit in its size, like its normal size.
No,
right?
I think it fits. I think it
You
it fits, and weight-wise, Rock was made for 500. What was it 500,000 pounds? I think is
Wow.
what
It's a lot. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's a ridiculous amount.
Yeah,
I think
But
it's
that's not a fully fueled Starship, though, sadly.
no, it could not carry a fueled Starship, but it could carry a Starship.
That would be awesome. Even just put just a little bit of propellant in there, drop it, and make it do a belly flop.
How would it rotate if it was trying to take off if it had a Starship underneath, like on the pylon?
You ignite the Raptors and gimbal them. I don't know.
Ignite the Raptors.
Your maximum rotation ascent angle, or whatever it's called, we need Thomas back, is like 0.5 degree, and you just climb ever so slowly off the runway.
I had an SSTO in Kerbal that flew that way.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure I've done that exact thing in Kerbal.
I think it's called a Rado, a Raptor-assisted takeoff.
There you go, a radar.
Love it. Love it. I'm going to jump off for a minute. I need to grab a drink and stretch my legs. I'll be right back.
Oh, good, Jack. And I'll hop right back
right.
into Super Chats.
And we are here at 9:28 to 9:29 Central Day. Does that still say Central Daylight Time?
I think so.
It's supposed to say Central Standard Time.
Is it standard time?
Wait, isn't it CST now? I thought we just switched.
I thought it was daylight time.
Hang on. Starbase Live is
It's
correct.
daylight time, yeah.
No, it is. Were we CST before and now we're DT? Oh,
I'm
good
not
grief.
sure. You know, this will all
Okay.
be fixed if we get daylight savings canceled.
What
My-
time is it? I googled what time it is. It is. We just went to the D instead of the CST.
What a riveting stream where we're literally watching DOS Google. What time is it?
Well, what I was going to say is that the test window that they had filed with the county here closes in about 30 minutes. So, of course,
Gotcha.
they always have the opportunity to stretch those a little bit. They did some serious stretching earlier today because they closed the road well in advance of me ever getting a text saying that the road was closed. So it was a couple hours before the sheriff was already kicking people out and they had the hard roadblock up. And then finally, once everyone was gone, then I got the text saying the road was closed. So they can certainly go past 10 o'clock a little bit here, especially on a weeknight like this. It's not the end of the world if they go a little bit over. Since they were doing a cryo test, it doesn't look like there wouldn't be fuel. Sometimes you have to worry about fuel boil off or a vehicle's landed and how is it going to get safed and all these sorts of things, right? And that's not the situation we're in tonight. But if you look, it does really look like, on the left-hand view, most of that ice has melted off the bottom of the ship. Same thing on the right-hand view. Even there, midships on the booster, that ice looks like it is mostly melted away. I think we can see a similar thing. It's not so obvious there. The ship definitely melted from this angle, but a little bit there on the booster. And, of course,
Yep.
we can go here as well and then go back over, hop back over, da-da-da-da-da. Let's go down and see if we can't have a look at that middle ice ring as well. But it does look like the ship ice has mostly melted away, and the booster ice is significantly melting as well. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. It definitely looks like it's draining.
Yeah. So it looks like we did see the cryo test occurring there as they put the cryogenic liquids, the liquids that are so cold that they actually freeze the atmosphere outside of the rocket onto the side of the rocket. It's literally freezing the water out of the air. That's where the ice comes from. It's not magic, it's science. But that cryo test that they were doing here, it does look like they are detanking, shutting it down, whatever the right terminology is, draining it, Ian, right? You know, you said drain a couple times, so...
Yep. I think detanking is the fancy word.
There you go. It's like you have to hold one pinky up when you detank the rocket, right?
Get a monocle. They are
I say, I
detanking
do
the
believe we
booster.
are detanking the vehicle.
There you go.
Yes.
Let's see if
Starship
we
stream,
can't-
but it's only extra fancy words.
There you go.
Oh, God.
One day I want to do like a Starlink launch stream with like a transatlantic voice.
Ooh, that'd be cool. We're
And now
all
we see the launch of the Starship as it carries 58 satellites in orbit. Like whatever. Like just get some people that can do that much better than me
Yes.
and just do the whole stream in that voice.
Yes.
And here we are now down in Starship Boca Chica.
Yeah, exactly. That's sort
Are you
of-
watching some other stream? What are you, a flatfoot? Watch our stream.
Where are we going?
Anyways, if you don't know transatlantic voice, let's look up what transatlantic voice means if you want to do some Wikipedia learning tonight.
Yep, the transatlantic voice, that's like the new trend right now.
What? Is it?
Oh, it's like, that's like I don't know, some new trend or whatever. People in chat are saying, please no, please no.
Well, fine. I don't want to do it anymore if it's a new trend.
Das is
So-
it, kids.
Chat, you have to be good, otherwise we will do it. You see, you can
There
do
you
carrot
go.
and the stick. Do the carrot and the stick.
Oh, you thought that was a carrot. That was a stick. We were actually threatening to do it. It is
If you
more
don't
of
hit
like
that like button, Das will go into transatlantic accent for 10 minutes.
Yeah, see? It's like a I don't know. Sometimes this is like launch coverage or test coverage mixed with a radio show, like Dingo and the Baby in the Morning or something. Like
This is more or less just a podcast of people pretending to discuss rockets.
I mean, it's there. It's a rocket. It had a cryo test. There was nothing really obvious that we could see beyond the standard venting. So yeah, we're gonna riff a little.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I think if it had gotten significantly more frosty and like they had filled all of the tanks completely, we obviously would have been talking about that. But what we really saw was part of the aft section of the booster get a little frosty, part of the common dome section of methane tank get frosty, and ship got, I'd say, fairly frosty. But it seems like, and this is me completely guessing here, the amount of nitrogen they put in the booster was probably all that was required in terms of keeping the booster structurally sound for when they loaded the ship. Like it didn't seem like they, filled up the booster. Again, it didn't get completely frosty or anything. So it was kind of a, I don't know if it's an aborted full cryo or it was purposeful partial cryo or what, but either way, it was a relatively chill test. Haha, I'm sorry, you can fire me now.
That's the end of the stream, folks. Go home.
Playing
Is
Chris.
that the launch mount is venting? Did it just start doing that, or am I just late to the party?
Oh wow, yeah, down low. Look at that.
That could be our signal that they are, wrapping things up or getting the vehicle detanked a bit.
Yep, that did just start a few seconds ago.
Yay. Well,
And Das is quickly going, go, 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 go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
right.
actually increased the speed. You could see there. I cranked the speed way up.
Nice. Cool. That's a good sign that the test was successful, or at least they...
completing.
Yeah, completing. That's the
Because
word.
they can always extend the road closure windows, as we've
Yep.
seen in the past.
Yep. And even then, not having a full cryogenic proof test, that's still a lot of good data, because that's the first time they've ever loaded any sort of propellant onto a ship using the quick disconnect arm. So even if they scrubbed, which we're not even entirely sure if they did, even if they did scrub, they still got a lot of data on how all of this equipment is working.
And
It's,
that is part of that's the whole thing there, isn't it, Jack?
yeah, sure is. Definitely want to make sure it's all the GSC and everything is working.
Yeah. So let's do
Oh.
this. We have, of course, been here running our mouths, as we tend to do. especially with the tank watching streams where we have a lot going on and a little bit of ice to look at. But we've gotten significantly behind in our super chats here, Jack. You want to run through some of them real quick?
Yeah, sure. Stuart, thank you for the support. They say static fire? No, cryoproof. Jacobus, thank you for the support. Asking if the Space Pope is reptilian? You better believe he is. That's another Futurama reference for you. Musical Wolves, thank you for the support. BSF would be Broomstick Spaceflight. I kind of like it. Seriously, thank you for the support to everybody doing the super chats tonight. Nerd Plays Games is asking what our favorite snack is for while we're watching tanks. Well, we were joking earlier that when it's a cryoproof, you have to eat spicy foods, and when it's a static fire, you have to eat cold foods. So maybe some kind of spicy food. I don't know. Anyone want to chime in with their favorite tank watching snack really quick?
I mean, I had a banana before, but actually yesterday I did have a pizza bagel.
How dare you be healthy? What did you eat yesterday?
A pizza bagel right before we got on stream.
All right, pizza bagels. I'll take it.
Pizza bagel. Dude, when the pizza's on the bagel, you can have pizza anytime.
You beat me to it. Darn it. I was like, all right, after whatever DOS says, I'm going to say when pizza's on the bagel. Oh, darn it.
I don't get it, but I will vouch pizza bagels. If you've never had them before, have a pizza bagel. They're a great combination.
What? The fact that you keep calling it a pizza bagel.
It's a pizza bagel.
It's a bagel bite.
Oh, man, it's a bagel bite.
What do you want me to call it? A bagel?
No, it's a bagel bite, man.
But bagel bite is a proprietary eponym like Q-tip or Band-Aid. So we gotta.
Or Band-Aid.
They're not paying us any money. So until Bagel Bites ponies up with that fat sponsorship cash, we're gonna call them pizza bagels.
Okay.
I make my own. I cut my own bagel. I put my own sauce on. Put my own cheese on. End of story.
Well, now I'm way more interested. Anyways, Nerd Plays Games. There you go. There's a pizza bagel related derail there for you. Thank you for the support. Jacob, thanks for the support. Philip Whitehouse, thank you for the pineapples. I assume that is for Ian.
Thank you, good sir.
Pineapple. Which I still don't think I've ever gotten the story on that. You're going to have to go into the members Discord and tell us what's going on there.
Next time on NASASpaceflight live streams.
Right?
The
James
fourth time we've pushed it off.
James Juries, thanks. Says totally bonkies. It's already a Nightbot command. What have I done? Mike, thank you for the support. They say NSPI till Saturday. What's a good day to see Starship? Any day the road's open, Mike. I know that might sound a little flippant, but that's really the case. If the road is open, you can get right up there, like a couple hundred feet away from the thing. It's wild. So definitely go check out the site, Starbase, whenever the road is actually open. But thank you for the support there. Floyd Clifton Woolley, thanks for becoming a Pad Rat. Again, thank you to all of our members. Thank you to the people that are super chatting. It's awesome of you. You are supporting the stream while we are doing it on the stream. The members, thank you to the members because they are the ones that are providing that sort of recurring monthly support that allows us to do the things that we do that require sort of maybe longer lead times or things that, if we're going to do... the members, it's really helpful. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. So thank you so much to the members. Thank you to Floyd there. Donnie, thanks for the support. Rusty Shackelford, Pocket Sand. King of the Hill reference for you. Yeah. Says, well, would this test be more of a test checkout of Stage 0 over needing more Starship booster cryo tests? We've sort of alluded to that, I think, lately, that they seem to be testing the GSE as much as they are cryoing the booster, if not more so. The booster's getting a cryo test done, but perhaps they're getting Stage 0 checked out, because, hey, guess what? Stage 0 is complicated, just like Elon has said, right?
Yep.
Let's see. Paul, thank you for the support. They say it's been great watching you from first hop to this first integrated test. Well, thank you for sticking with us, Paul. We appreciate the support. And, oh, man, all of the stupid inside jokes you probably have at this point. Like, if that was methane, ... Let's see. LB, thank you for the support. Is there going to be something like Canadarm and the cargo Starship with opening the hatch to be able to grab stuff and pull it into the ship? We haven't seen anything like that, but that is a reasonable thing to sort of expect Starship to eventually have someday in the absence of, I guess, like a tractor beam, which just straight up doesn't exist. So Starship with a cargo arm, plausible, possible, probably, most likely going to happen, just a matter of time. I mean, everything's going to happen on an infinite timescale.
Yeah, I mean, because Starship is really good at launching stuff, but also it has, in theory, a good return capability, so it can bring back satellites. So, say, if they want to disassemble the ISS and put in the Smithsonian, they can do that. But in order to get stuff, you'd either need to be really precise with maneuvering your Starship, or use an arm to bring it in and dock it inside.
Let's see. James, thank you for the support. They're asking about the Stargate thing. Did you find out, Das, if there's a new Stargate show or what the deal with that is?
I saw some people saying that Amanda Tapping had been approached about a show, but I don't see any official announcements or anything like that. Maybe it isn't Google in the right place. I am operating a stream with a bunch of cameras, but I don't know. I'm certainly gonna look at it. Like, I have a spreadsheet, and I've watched all the Stargate SG-1 episodes in order and took notes on what I liked about them.
Oh my God! Were you like going to do a podcast or something? Like that sounds amazing.
Man, I just like the show. This is like before all that, man.
You are way more organized than me in your entire life.
Yeah, that's kind of scaring me.
No, I had like the episode length, and then how long the intro video was, and they changed the intro. You know, the little intro they roll, like how long that was each season, and how many hours you would skip if you didn't actually watch the intros because you're watching them all in a row. Like I have all this in a spreadsheet.
That's
hey,
amazing.
Power to you.
Tyler, thank you for becoming a PadRat member. Again, thank you so much to all of our members. Matt Kroc, part-time tank watcher, said I just became a launch director. Thank you, Matt Kroc. You have a cool name and a cool occupation because you're a part-time tank watcher. Thank you for the support
YouTube
there.
name. Nice.
Launch directors and flight engineers, you get your name in like a graphic that pops up. So that's like Capcom and above, you get Discord access, launch director, and flight engineer. Oh my God, am I messing this up? Anyways, you get cool perks, so please enjoy the perks there that you get for the support. We appreciate it. Yeah, there you go. There's the card.
Launch directors and flight engineers.
We always joke, or at least I always joke, that we need like a high-frequency burst of audio that's just like somebody reading out all of the names all at once, so we can just like be like, beep. Okay, that was us reading your name at 1,000.
What we need to do is make this look like bricks, honestly.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a really good idea.
You and your bricks.
I guess I still need to claim a brick in the brick club. I have not claimed my brick but I would like to be a member of the brick club. So I need to get into Starbase Live and get on that.
Nice.
Let's see, Banjo, thank you for the support. Who from NASASpaceflight will be at KSC for the SLS rollout tomorrow? I'll be there with a family member. That's really cool. It's cool that you can take family.
We have a whole
group
going, I think, right?
Yeah, I don't even know the entire list. I assume Chris G is going to be there, Thomas is going to be there, and
Steven's
others.
going to be there, I think.
Probably Julia, or maybe Julia.
Yeah, Julia, I think.
I think Nate's going to be there. I think Nate came down
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
From Canada, from the frozen north for SLS. So that's going to be cool because he always makes amazing imagery. So rest assured, for Orange Rocket and its glorious shuttle-derived engines and boosters, we were going to cover that thing left, right, up, down. You better believe it. So.
And that is tomorrow. That's going to be here on the channel tomorrow on Thursday.
Yeah.
So if you haven't yet, toss a follow over if you want to see that massive, whatever your thoughts are on it. It's going to be a cool sight. The old crawler transporters rolling the mobile launcher out there all the way to the pad. It's going to be cool. And if you're a fan of rockets, whatever else you think about, look at the vent
look at that.
down.
Look at that.
Ooh.
Yep.
Very cool.
You can hear that noise there. Look at all the venting happening now.
Wow. Oh, all the vents are going. That's cool. Look at that. And that's extra cool because the vents at the top are actually the booster's RCS, which is a really, really smart design on Starship. They don't use special RCS vents. They just use the tank vents.
Yeah,
it's that vent right there in the middle. Look. You'll see it go.
Ooh.
Oh, that's awesome.
You can almost see it actually open and close.
I think you can. That's wild.
Yep. So what it is, it's like a disc that's mounted on a vertical axle. And there's a little piston inside that'll push it open, push it closed.
Super cool to see the LOX tank vents / reaction control thrust do their thing. I think the ones down by the Common Dome are also going action control on the flipping.
Wow.
Wow, that's violent.
That is
Sounds like
very loud.
Sounds like a train.
Is it down low?
The ship's venting too.
But look at the big plume down low.
Oh.
Things got very active very suddenly. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool.
I guess that's coming more out of the side, huh?
Yeah.
Now just one of the LOX tank vents on the booster is still going, right there by that common dome section.
Yeah, I'm
Yep,
going to go
it looks
halfway
like they're
back up. See if I can find
depressurizing.
it.
Oh, and it just stopped. But Starship's still going strong.
The ship is now venting full speed.
Wow.
That's so cool.
I mean, there's 2 vents in that shot right there.
Yep.
That is just gorgeous.
I
It's
can't
so cool.
explain to y'all how loud this is. I've got this volume almost completely bottomed out right now. That was 50% volume.
Wow.
Literally just clipping out all the audio levels here from ambient when we would hear all the other venting and stuff like that. That is a ridiculously loud sound that's coming out of the Starship right now.
Jeez. And is this microphone picking it up like how you would hear it? Or is it amplified a bit?
No, this is, I mean, it's hard to say like, oh, exactly what the level or anything like that is. It is a powered microphone, but it's not bumping it up a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, now, if y'all were watching over on Starbase Live, you probably are turning down your volume right now because on Starbase Live, that audio was just playing the entire time, if I'm not mistaken. Here, I had it turned way down, so it was just barely in the background, but we could hear it if something was going on. So that is a lot of venting there from the Starship.
And given that the vent on Starship stopped, but the sound is continuing, that might be coming from the launch mount or the tank farm, that sound. Wow, that's quite a plume right there.
Yeah, it is.
And actually, that's a neat effect you can see on the booster tank. Part of it looks very dull. That's because when they rapidly depressurize it, it actually gets colder. So if you ever use a grill with a propane tank and you turn the gas on for a while, and you use the grill for a while, you'll notice the propane tank starts to get really cold and starts to freeze because rapid depressurization like that drops the temperature. And the same thing is happening there with the tanks.
Same thing with that little cans of air, you know, like you blow out your keyboard with or whatever.
Yep.
You
Yeah, I was
depressurize those and
gonna-
they get cold.
I was thinking of the can of air analogy here, but I like Ian's better because it's got propane and propane accessories.
Propane
Ah.
accessories, nice.
See, I need to watch King of the Hill.
It's so good. I didn't understand it for so many years, and then at some point, my sense of humor clicked, I guess, and it's like the best show. Tell you what.
Tell you what.
Wow.
So we saw that. I mean, that looked like a RCS test on the booster. I mean, they fired all of the ones up top. They fired the ones on the side. That was
Yep.
super cool.
Well, actually, it's a mixed RC thing. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
I mean, hey, best part is no part. Let's just
Absolutely.
repurpose something for something else, and bingo.
Yep.
One thing does 2 things.
Checking the, sorry for the little whip tilt there, I guess. It's not a whip pan, it's a whip tilt, Jack.
Hey, I'm not complaining right now.
I'm checking the QDs there to see if anything's going on with the quick disconnects.
It looks like they're getting less frosty. At least a little bit on the right side there, where the grading starts.
Yep.
Or I could just be seeing things. But pro tip: you can do a whip pan or a whip tilt as long as you want, or as much as you want, as long as you make like a cool sound effect, like whoosh, then it's acceptable.
Horse whinny.
Yeah.
Whip crack, horse whinny. Nice.
It's like, did the camera get kicked by a horse? What's going on?
Yeah, again, like the audio level there on the site is still like I've got it turned almost all the way down. Just pull it back down again so it's in the background when we talk. So, wow.
That was cool.
That is violent.
I would love to know how much force you can get out of a LOX tank vent turned thruster. Like, what is the calculus there in terms of its usefulness as an RCS thruster? Do you just say, well, it's not as efficient as a dedicated thruster, but we're saving the weight and mechanisms and potential thing that could break? Or, like, how does that work out? Or maybe I'm just dumb and they act just fine as a thruster and they get just as much performance. Or I don't know. I have questions I would love to ask.
Yeah, that's very cool. And like you said, I wonder how that compares to a cold gas or even a hot gas thruster.
Yeah.
Like what they'll be using on the HLS lander. And yeah, this is neat to see. The action on the ship and booster are over, but the action on the ground support equipment is still going strong because they need to get all the fluids back into the tanks, clean the lines out, drain the lines, get the pressure out of everything, so that it's safe for the pad to be approached by crews.
Pretty darn nifty that we got to see a full stack cryogenic test for the very first time. No, there's no shortage of firsts in Starbase Boca.
Absolutely.
Let's see. I'll run through some more super chats because we were going through them, trying not to get too far behind, and then interesting things started happening. Trademark. Let's see. Cyber Ralph? I don't know, but they're saying I didn't get it wrong. DOS is who they were talking about, and Starship equals Starport, even though it doesn't go to stars. So take that, DOS. That's why it was a take that, DOS comment. Thank you for the support.
It still doesn't go to stars. Just saying. I'm just going to throw that out there.
And you're not wrong. You're technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
I guess I can name my rocket system when I build a big rocket system, right?
There you go.
Elon can call it whatever he wants.
Just do it in Kerbal, and there you go. Nice and easy.
There you go.
Easy in air quotes.
Those are all snack-related names, though. Snack Gazer, Snack Finder.
But oh my gosh. Okay, I won't allow myself to be derailed in this, but I love it. Web Finder, thank you for the support. They say, how will SpaceX transport the rockets from Boca to the launch site or the Cape flying by itself? Question mark. You know, maybe they'll fly Starships from where they're built to other places for transportation methods at some point, but they're going to be building Starships at the Cape. Right. So there's not really a need to launch one from Boca to Florida at this point because they're going to be building them in Florida. Now, could they launch one from Boca and it goes on orbit, does a thing, and then lands at Florida? I mean, at that point, it's just a different landing zone if the inclinations match up. I don't know. I'm not a smart person. Don't listen to me. But basically, they don't need to build them at the Cape, right?
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead, Ian.
I was just saying, I've been thinking about it like the past few days with how they are. Sorry, total brain fart. Their progress on the Cape Canaveral Starship facility is really in the early stages right now. The factory there's not even a foundation built for the factory, but they are building the launch pad and building the launch tower. Now, I don't know exactly how fast it's going to be to build the factory, but maybe they will have to bring vehicles in from Boca. Will they launch them? Will they put them on a barge? I don't know. Or will the pad take so long that the factory will be ready when they're done? It'll be interesting to see, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, barge doesn't seem like a bad idea, given that the port connector road is right there. Like we were talking about earlier with transporting a Starship to the Brownsville airport, there's a lot of wires and other logistics that have to be handled, but it is doable, right?
Yeah, like the port connector road. I mean, they were even going to transport Starship Mark II, which was way back in 2019. That was the first prototype they were building at Cape Canaveral. They were going to transport that by barge to the turning basin at Kennedy Space Center. So, again, those are very outdated plans, but
just going back to the port connector is a lot easier than going all the way to the airport. Like, you're going to have to dismantle the Border Patrol checkpoint.
Yep.
Border Patrol checkpoint doesn't have room for a Starship to go through it. Like, it literally doesn't even work. You'd have to completely take down parts of the structure and stuff like that just to get past it. That's one of, like, many obstacles on the way. The power lines and street lights and all that sort of stuff going back up towards the airport. Hey, if they can figure it out, I imagine that they'll get it done. But, you know.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think about the Border Patrol checkpoint. I guess I should have. Maybe I should rescind my statement earlier that it would be easier to go to the Brownsville airport than South Padre Island. Maybe I had that backwards. Wow.
Yeah,
Anyways.
the bridge is the big deal. Getting across that bridge with a Starship is probably the deal. I don't know that an SPMT could level a Starship at the slope that the angle that the bridge goes up, the rise over run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
know,
good
I
point.
don't know that that's possible. So you're either somehow doing it horizontally. I don't see how it gets across the bridge. Even if you surmount everything else that's in the way, the bridge is sort of the deal. Unless you could barge it and then get it on some sort of dock on the other side, then temporary dock, I don't even know. Wow. Hey, chat, is the venting too loud? I can always turn it down. I had it a lot further down, but now it's super active. So if that venting is like making it hard to understand what we're saying, I'm just reading chat real quick to let me know if that's too loud.
Nerd
Nope.
Plays Game says no. Robert says nope.
Okay, cool. All right.
Cool.
Excellent. All right, well, I'll leave it back where it was then. I just, I had it super low before, and then when all the venting happened, I turned it up, but some of this stuff is ridiculously loud.
Yeah. and
Michael
then-
Shoemaker says turn it up.
Nice.
Let's see. Tyler, thank you for the support. Do you think the current tower beam length can fit in a Starship for Mars moon construction while shorter segments need to be designed? Like, can they fit towers in the Starship to build a tower on Mars or the moon? I feel like something else would be designed, but what do
Yeah.
I know?
I mean, honestly, the tower. Let's look at the screen real quick. Okay, so the tower segments as they are now, beams cannot fit in Starship. It does not seem like they could probably make much smaller segments, much light. Because also, if you think about it, on Starship you have 1/3 the gravity, so Starship weighs 1/3 as much. You only need, in theory, a 1/3 as strong tower, so you're not going to need to bring as big and as clunky of segments. So again, there's a lot to take into consideration here. But and even on the moon with 1/6 gravity, that's even less.
Yeah, the tower was designed for Earth operations, so why not specifically design whatever mechanisms for the moon for, taking advantage of the fact that you're on the moon and you don't have 1G and all that.
Yep.
Let's see, going through a couple more of these super chats. William, thank you for the support. They say Starship is Franken Crane's monster. Yes, I'm sorry I keep making that joke, but I'm not going to stop. Christian Lilly, thank you for the support. More data is more better. Quoting me, I guess from the SN4 Static Fire. I said that a lot, so hopefully I said it back then. I'll take your word for it. Thank you for the support. John, thanks for the support. Jim, thank you for the support. I don't necessarily mean to just go quickly, but when you don't give me something to riff on, just thanks for the support. You gotta give me like a sentence so I can be like, oh, my favorite snack is freeze-dried seaweed loaf. I don't know.
You had
Is
that? I brought
what?
some of that back from Japan, actually.
I love it. It's so good. It's the best. I'm just making foods up, but the little sheets of seaweed, yes, those are good.
Yeah, the
Oh,
sheets of
okay.
seaweed, yeah.
James Juries with a methane leak joke. Thank you, James, for all the support on the stream. Saw your name pop up a lot. James, thank you for the support. James Vanderens.
Yeah, talking about this. Yeah.
The Stargate show is not official. They're waiting on MGM Amazon Prime, but it's being rumored. Well, I'll keep my eyes open for that. Thanks for the heads up. Chandler, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. Thank you again to all of our members. The membership program is a super awesome way you can support what we do. So thank you to everybody that chooses to support us in that way. We super appreciate it. Tiffany,
Absolutely.
thank you for the support. They say thanks for the amazing coverage from future astronaut Sun Gaelic Space.
Nice.
Very cool. And Musical Wolves to round it out. Much sound, such frost, very Starship. That's a
Very
good summary
Starship.
of what you all saw tonight. So thank you, Musical Wolves, for the
That's-
support and the apt summary.
That's a very concise summary.
I really do think that that's one of the coolest things about this. Talking about the kid who wants to be a future astronaut, like, you could be in school right now and you could fly on a Starship one day. It never really felt like that in the past to me. It was always like, oh, I'll be an astronaut, but you never, okay, is the shuttle going to be around? What would I fly on? And I can see a world right now where kids that are in school right now that view themselves on the moon or on a space station or whatever it is, right? Could be going to space on this vehicle or the son of this vehicle, the daughter of this vehicle, whatever you want to call it. A future version of this vehicle, I could see people going to space on this, like the kids that are in school right now working towards that and ending up on this vehicle or a vehicle very, very similar to it. I don't know why I've never really felt like shuttle. It never really felt that way. It was just like, oh yeah, those old people, those are astronauts. Look how cool they are. But I'm a kid. I can't do that.
Yeah,
You
or
know?
it's like, I could be an astronaut, but it's like a 1 in a million chance. It's like basically you want to be a double rock star or something. Like you have to get so, to such a particular point where you are, picked by NASA and you're such an outstanding candidate and all of that. But yeah, no, I completely agree. Now it feels like, hey, for me, functionally an old guy now, I guess. I'm like, I hope I live long enough to be able to fly on one of these things. But if you're a kid in school right now, it's absolutely the case where it's like, if you want a job in space, there's a really good chance you'll be able to get one in the future if everything goes how we all hope it will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean that's very
absolutely.
motivating because I mean I'm not a kid, but I am in school, and yeah, I'd love to fly on one of these one day, whether it be to the moon, which is on my bucket list, or flying transcontinental, whatever. That would just be so cool to just do a flight to space for less than $100,000.
It's
But
pretty
yeah,
cool that this is something that's even plausible right now, given where it felt like Doss was saying in the shuttle era, and the gap after shuttle, before we started launching Crew again. Like it really felt like it's such an impossible thing, but we're right on the verge now of it hopefully being, well, on its way to commonplace, anyways.
yeah, absolutely, and it's so inspiring to see.
Yeah. I do think here, folks, coming up just past 10 o'clock, that looks like they have depressurized the vehicle, detanked the vehicle. Everything's sort of spooling down here. So it seems to me like this might be the right time for us to spool down our commentary. We wanted to come through here and answer some of these questions for you. Talk, hopefully entertain you a little bit. I know sometimes we're telling jokes and stuff like that, but good grief, you can only see so much ice on the side of a piece of stainless steel. So I do hope that we not only got you some interesting information, maybe you learned something, maybe you forced somebody else to watch tonight. That happens on occasion. Appreciate you making the family watch or the friends watch, significant other, whatever it is. But we do hope that you enjoyed spending time with us this evening as we watched that cryo test of the full stack down there at Starbase, Boca Chica. Going around the horn real quick, earlier we had Mr. Thomas Berghardt on. He is not on anymore, but massive thanks to Thomas for coming through here this evening. Also, Mr. Jack Beyer. He's been here. Jack, thank you so much. Always a pleasure, senor.
Yep, it's been a good one. I always enjoy when we get to be on stream together, and I always enjoy streaming these things in general. Thank you to everybody for watching, and thanks for all the support.
Excellent. And then also you heard the voice of Mr. Ian Atkinson. Ian, thank you as well for the support. For the support.
Absolutely. The support.
Thanks for
I
the
mean,
support,
I guess
Ian.
this is kind of support, right? Question mark. But yeah,
It
it's
is.
always fun. I was here last night. It was so much fun, and I'm honestly surprised we saw a cryo-proof the day after. But hey, very fun to see.
Yep. Absolutely. And then lastly here, y'all, my name is John Galloway for NASASpaceflight. Going to go ahead and sign off for this evening. We're going to shut down the commentary stream, but Starbase Live is going to keep on going. Remember, that's our 24/7 stream. Get some of those links into chats. You can continue to watch there. You can continue to chat with people and watch what's going on down there at Starbase. But it does look like the conclusion of the testing this evening, so we are going to shut down our commentary. Don't miss tomorrow, rollout of SLS. That other big moon rocket is going to be coming out of the NASA VAB at Kennedy Space Center tomorrow afternoon into the evening. That is going to be a sight to see. We've sent a lot of cameras down there so that we can share that with you live, and we hope to see you there as well. You know what to do. Follow the channel here if you want to know how to get back and listen to us tell more bad jokes, because that's the thing that we tend to do. But for now, no, don't apologize. Own it, Jack. For now, NASA Spaceflight crew is going to go ahead and sign off, and we will see you nerds later. Thanks for watching.
We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
RCP chamber pressure looks good. Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantic.
Water towers, fly!
Tango Delta nominal.
Flight down, feed off. Bring in, feed off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.